Oh, there it goes. Now
That's our problem. It wasn't.
All right, welcome everybody to the City of West Tawakoni's Planning and Zoning meeting for October 2nd at 7 p.m. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call the meeting to order. It is 7 o'clock. We'll start with attendance.
Crystal Woodruff,
Chris Bonowitz,
Caleb Gilbert.
Cecilia Urban, Teresa Sparks.
Robert Gilbert.
Everybody is present. Move on to item number 4, public hearing. We have a motion to open public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Motion by Chris.
Second it, please.
Second by Lee. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. We are now in public hearing at 7 o'clock. Item A of the public hearing is replat of 124 East Rabbit Cove Road, West Tawakoni, Texas 75474. Legal description A1351. Kelly, Miss Laura Tract B, acres 6.7, property ID number 38963, zoned agriculture. A, the request is to grant a replat into 2 lots. Anybody to speak on applicant?
Have anything you want to say?
No, unless any of y'all have questions.
They are basically taking this lot and dividing it right here.
Then I have a question. I can't see her.
Sorry, darling.
Hi. So it says y'all are zoned agriculture right now,
Yes, ma'am.
but is there a house on one of those lots?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And are you wanting to keep it?
No, we're selling the house, that front part. We're selling that house and all that stuff. And I'm only gonna be keeping the back part that's got the pond on
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was wondering what y'all were doing with it.
it.
That answered my question.
Any other questions?
I remember right, there's a house on lot 2 also. Where the pond is?
No.
No,
There's not.
there's a barn on that back corner, but it's just a barn.
Did you plan on rebuilding there or just keeping it for a while?
I don't think so. I'm not planning on it, no, sir.
Sounds like a good investment to me.
No more questions, no other comments from the public. We'll close the public hearing. Item 5 is discussion or action to close the public hearing. Is there a motion to close?
I make a motion.
Motion by Teresa,
I'll second it.
second by Cecilia. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. We are now closing the public hearing at 7:03. Now, item number 6, call to order regular session, 7:03. Item number 7, citizens input related to agenda items, 3-minute time limit. Is there anybody who would like to address? All right, we'll move on to item number 8, new business. Item A is to discuss and or action to approve or deny replat 124 East Rabbit Cove Road, West Tawakoni, Texas 75474. Legal description A1351. Kelly, Miss Laura, Tract B, acre 6.7, property ID number 38963, zoned agriculture A. The request is to grant a replat into 2 lots. Any further discussion? Or we have a motion?
Any issues?
All fine with it.
Yeah, we got access in both lots, so.
Yeah.
No problem.
Changing.
Yeah, that's a good question. Is there access to both lots?
There is. We
Yeah,
got
there
Maze Lane and Rabbit Cove, so
Oh, yeah.
both of them have access.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Teresa,
Second.
second by Crystal. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Item B is presentation and discussion of the proposed zoning ordinance of the city of West Tawakoni. All right, you're up.
How are y'all doing? Good. Having a good night?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now we get to do this all over again. Okay. So I'm going to stay seated unless y'all prefer for me to stand because I prefer that this is going to be a long discussion. So unless y'all have different feelings, I'm more than happy to, but I'm going to stay right here. So I'm going to start out with just kind of some logistic kind of discussions that I've had with Mary and Shannon. So y'all are kind of on the same page when it comes to timeline, how we're going to do this, you know, what the process is going to be, all that kind of stuff. So first things first, we want to get this adopted by January 1 of 2025. So that would have us, the city council adopting it mid-December with an effective date of Jan 1 of 2025. This would be in purpose to make 2026. Thank you. It's okay. It's a long day. So January 1 of 2026, correction. This would make Shannon's life easier of a official start and end date being an actual new year versus, you know, a random September 22nd of the year. So that's the goal in mind that we're going to go through as we go through this process. Today is the first. I have brought this ordinance to you in the past. I believe most of y'all were still on this board. There's a couple new faces, but majority of y'all were already on this board when that happened. Y'all got a chance to review it then. Any edits that were given to me at that point have been made, and then we've made a lot of edits since then, myself, Mary, and Shannon. So now this is y'all's second time having it in front of y'all. This will be y'all's first time looking at this up here in a second. I'll get to that. And there's still some edits that will need to be made. So we will probably need to have a special session on the 15th of this month in order to hit that Jan 1, 2026 deadline, because I want to make sure y'all get a chance to review it and y'all have more than enough time to answer questions, ask questions, all that type of stuff before we go into public hearing and adoption and recommendation to council. And then I want to make sure council has an ample amount of time as well. That way we're not doing anything backwards. Yes, sir.
So what's the section that still needs a little work? That we're in?
The sections that need a little work. So this is good to go. Besides that, there's a few ordinances specific to West Tawakoni that have not been included. So that includes y'all's tiny home ordinance, y'all's storage container ordinance, and y'all's wrecking yard.
There's a few things we have in our old ordinance that I want to make sure 100% go in.
And we've already worked on incorporating the old antenna ordinance and another one as well. So those already been worked in. We just have those other 3 to get worked in before the 15th as well. That came up today in our discussions that we had. So yeah, so
what were the 3 again?
tiny homes, storage containers, wrecking yards.
So specifically like where we have repair shops that have lots of boats or cars sitting out for everyone to see that aren't
Yes.
fenced correctly and things like that. If we want to make sure that ordinance goes in here so we can continue what I'm starting.
And so everything else has already been included, all that type of stuff. So we can kind of go a couple different routes in this discussion today. I think the first thing I want to do is discuss with y'all each of the districts that have been established. That's kind of where I want to start. And then from there, we're going to hop into this discussion because I feel like this is really important to discuss. And then we'll hop into text again after that. So I want to start with the first district, which has not changed much since y'all's previous ordinance, and that would be y'all's agriculture district. So this is your standard agricultural uses, which the city already has an ordinance in place separately that you have to have ag exemption paperwork to be able to do, yada, yada, yada. That will still remain in place. All this district will do would be telling people what they can and cannot do on that piece of property. For a majority of items throughout this entire ordinance, you will see that agriculture allows a lot of uses until you get up into industrial, light industrial type of uses later on. Is there any questions in regards to the agriculture district? Any concerns that y'all have about including agricultural district within y'all's city?
What's the C stand for and the P stand for in the chart?
We're going to get to that in a second. But to answer your question, P is permitted, C is conditional. We'll get to that in a second. This will be a discussion later on after we look at the map. But those little abbreviations on there are the different districts that we're talking about right now. I'm trying to find the page so y'all can go. So y'all can go to page 34 of the big piece of material in front of y'all, if y'all would like to. So y'all can kind of, that's where these discussions of districts start. Okay.
So the one thing that I saw, 3 stories, is that's pretty high for a residential structure.
Yes, so 3 stories would be, that is the height that we had discussed with Shannon and Mary. That discussion was based off of more of the city already has the ability to maintain a 3-story structure. So the only time that we see cities go lower than that, so mind you, that's about 35 to 45 feet. The only time we've seen cities go lower than that is in situations regarding them not having enough fire truck abilities, ladder trucks, things like that, to be able to do fire suppression on a taller building. 35 to 45 feet can be changed. However, on agriculture, it is typically not, because take into consideration you have things such as barns, other things that will exceed that, will be higher than that. And then as you go further into this as well, you have 120 feet for silos and things like that.
Sure. So how does that translate then? So if it's ag now, and they want to come back in and change it to residential. So the residential is standard 2.5 stories. So how does it translate at that point?
It would either be a variance a city-induced variance where they are allowed, or we can easily change that height to be 35 feet or 45, if y'all would like that change. That is an easy one to make, if that is.
Well, I don't
what you
wanna,
do.
your comments made sense. If it's a barn, if they're actually using it for ag, they
Mhm.
probably need something taller. So I don't want to restrict someone from using it as ag, but at the same time, I think we need to make sure that it can be translated to. So they just don't go build it for a purpose of residential and then immediately
Yeah.
switch it over to
Yeah.
residential.
And that's the one thing that the city already has the ordinance in place. So the city has an ordinance separate from zoning where you are not allowed to build on an agricultural property unless you have an ag exemption use for it. So that's what kind of is already in place to keep that situation from happening. However, I do not see an issue on my side of changing that to 35 feet. You typically won't see somebody try to do anything more than that. And if they really have a reason, they can always come and ask for a variance or a special use permit or a conditional use permit, if that's the way the city would prefer for that to go.
What about barndominiums? What people are building their houses into the barn and stuff, you say?
That would be allowed on this property.
Barndominiums would be allowed on any property, which do not restrict building materials.
Yes. Would y'all like,
Restrict like where your manufactured homes go, you can restrict where your RVs are. You can restrict, minimum build sizes, but you cannot restrict what they build it out of.
this is correct. And that all happened about 2018 legislative cycle, somewhere around there.
So tell me about the loop. There is a loophole to that.
Oh, there is a loophole.
There is a loophole.
If
The
it's
cities
on-
use it all the time, specifically Collin County. I can't tell you exactly how it works, but they restrict building materials.
If it's a historic district.
Oh, well, yes, okay. If that's what you're discussing, yes. If it's a historic district, 100%.
No, like I tell you right now, in Frisco, they require. I know all of them. They require 100% cementous materials. All stories.
Yeah, I've seen commercial ones have to have a certain kind of
And-
facade.
So
I don't know how they do it, but
let me kind of take a step back. Historical buildings, yes, within historical districts, that has its own completely different set of rules and regulations set through Texas Historical Association and other legislative requirements that fall under those. So yes, that is completely correct. However, since West Tawakoni does not have like a historical downtown, that will not come into play in discussion of this ordinance very much. I cannot speak to what Plano, Frisco does. I do not work with Plano or Frisco. I also want to give the caveat of Plano and Frisco are also both home rule cities, not general law cities. Their rules and regulations are a lot different than what y'all have here, and their abilities are a lot different. I do work with general law cities. However, we work with cities over the population of 5,000 on a daily basis. I have never seen an attorney recommend to do what Plano and Frisco are doing. It will be turned down. Most of our attorneys turn it down very quickly because at the state level, you have to go through a lot of jumps and loopholes to get that passed. And if you end up in a lawsuit, you're going to end up spending a lot of money to get your case.
so how do we protect the public? How do we protect residents?
Yes. So that was
Because
going to be my next
these
thing.
builders come in and they put just junk material up. How do we protect them? It's not about necessarily sticking it to residents. It's about protecting the residents.
Yes, so that was gonna be my next statement. So when it comes to your standard building materials, so your house must be built out of brick, things like that. It cannot be built out of like, the one we always use is like those pallets. Like you can't go build a fence out of pallets. That is international building code level discussion. So that even goes above y'all's head. That goes above the state's head. That's on U.S. regulatory standards that are put in place on any builder that comes into the city to build a building. And that would fall on code enforcement on y'all's international building codes. That would not be a zoning discussion. Now, when it comes to regulating materials out of public safety desires, so things such as barbed wire is still one thing that we've had attorneys tell us we can still regulate because that is a health and wellness safety issue. So barbed wire, razor wire, anything like that is in this ordinance already, regulated to only be used on ag. And anything outside of ag is not allowed because it is a public health and safety issue.
So did I not read it in this one that we were already restricting like cementous material, or was that with the old version?
That should have not have been any version, I believe.
I made a note about it, so I read it somewhere on. Okay, so
Okay.
it's in the old version.
I was gonna say, that should not be included in any version. I don't even think that was in the old version. I thought
There's
I had
several things
revised it.
that I've had the attorney tell me, oh, no.
In the old one we
you
sent?
cannot enforce it.
Okay, then yeah, so that was probably
But
in the
I
old
think
one.
it was put, I think this may have been put into effect before.
Oh, wait,
some of
okay,
those
hold on. Are we talking
Old ones.
original? Okay.
Yes.
I thought we were talking the previous one I had sent to y'all, not the previous one the city had adopted. I apologize for my confusion. Yes, all of those regulations were only put in place in 2018, 2019 legislative cycle. So anything adopted before then, that was majorly done. You will see in some cities that have not adopted, not updated their ordinances since then, will still have that in there, but they cannot enforce it, even though it is still within their regulation. However, that being said, I am more than happy if y'all really want to go down that rabbit hole that we have Lee come in and she talk on that matter. However, that is the extent that I am able to talk of my experience, my company's recommendation on that situation. We do understand that bigger cities are doing different things. However, bigger cities also have the attorneys and the pocketbooks to pay for the lawsuits that have come out of that. Because I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of lawsuits, and there's a lot that are still going through the state right now that are going to end up being a situation in this next legislative cycle that might change some things. But that's just my recommendations and my 2 cents on that topic. We can always go further into that, bring Lee into the discussion, let her give her sense on an attorney's perspective. But just so y'all kind of know that's where the building material issue stands right now. But yeah, does that kind of answer those questions? Do y'all have any, would y'all like to move forward one way or another on that discussion item?
So what are you thinking?
Well, so basically what we used to do, the loophole is through a developer's agreement.
Yes.
So that's how all the cities of Macomb County, they restrict building material.
Yes.
So they do it all through basically a side agreement.
And
So-
those are still,
Yeah, that's different than
that
an ordinance.
that
Right.
is still 100% allowed, and that.
So that, I mean,
can-
that's the loophole. That's the only way to go now. I do remember when that law went into place, but I couldn't remember exactly what they were doing to get around it, but that's what it was. They were doing side deals, basically. They were restricting the builders to build certain quality materials, architectural features, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Before everything went through.
And that is one of the biggest tools that we've been telling cities to use is developers agreements or plan development districts, one or the other, to help get those things. But that whole situation will not be a part of this discussion to getting this adopted on January 1. Those would be discussions for developers agreements, plan development districts, things and decisions that would be made once that developer came to the table, not things that would be put in place in the city's ordinances. Is there any issues or concerns in regards to the agricultural district besides that 45 feet possibly being changed to 35?
I didn't see anything else on that one.
So now if you switch to page 36, we're going to start discussing the single family districts. So we have divided single family districts into 3 categories: SF 7.5, SF10, and SF12. When you look at those numbers, multiply by 1,000. So SF 7,500, SF 10,000, SF 12,000. These districts are what we have decided for your standard single family residences. The only things that will be allowed in these districts would be stick-built foundation single family homes. No manufactured, no multifamily, just stick-built single family homes with minimum lot sizes of 7,500, 10,000, and 12,000. With that being said, West Tawakoni sits in the situation in which some of y'all's lots were platted much earlier on and are much smaller than that 7,500 minimum zoning district that we have applied here. That does not mean that y'all cannot do this. All that means is that there is a line within this ordinance that says if any properties have a plat date earlier than 1/1 of 2026, as long as they can provide the plat, the deed, whatever it is to that property to show the original date, they are fine to move forward with that property size, because that would be a city-induced hardship, which we do not want to get into, and that's how we're going to mitigate that. However, this will make it to where you will no longer have developers coming in here trying to ask to be in that very smallest district. They will at the very minimum have to be within that 7.5.
Yeah,
maybe.
So,
So for the existing lots, yes,
Yes,
they're way too small now, but
Mhm.
it is what it is. So how does so how do we know how to, if it's not gonna be a part of this anymore, how do we know how to approve plats? How do we know what the setbacks are and all that stuff, if there's not gonna be in this document anymore at all?
so every city, no matter what the requirement is, you are required to keep your previous zoning ordinance. So moving forward, this is where you thank Shannon for her job. She is going to have to be reading off of 2 ordinances every single day. Anybody that has not decided to either come into the new zoning ordinance or has not had a land use change to put them into the new zoning ordinance will still have to abide by the old one. And that gets into our discussion that we had last time I was here of a zoning update does not mean everybody in the city automatically is new zoning. A zoning update just means as properties start to change, as people decide to come into the new zoning ordinance, then those properties would start abiding by these rules versus those rules over there. Additionally, what would happen with those specific properties is we plan on making Shannon a map using CAD data and ArcGIS in which any of the parcels that are already under 7,500 square feet, we are going to highlight for her on that web map and share that with her. So if anybody came up to the city with a problem regarding that piece of property, she would be able to easily see on that map, okay, they are, they would fall under a new zoning ordinance if they've changed their use, or they are grandfathered into the 5,000 square foot lot sizes.
So let's just take an instance that someone has purchased a property, but they want to tear the house down and build a new one. They would fit under the old because that was existing property.
It would, yes, that one would still fall. Are you just regarding the home? It's like, are you
The owner.
Yeah, so if you take one of the residential lots in any of these subdivisions, they're all 4,000 square feet. If they tear down the house on one of those already platted lots, it still goes by that old zoning.
It still
For
goes by the
setbacks and all that
4,000
stuff.
square feet, yes, sir.
Unless they change the plan.
Unless they change, yes, so all of this will have to be by plat, because you can't say, well, you tore down the house, so now you can't do it, because it is by the original plat that they were granted by the city. So that
now-
is, yes, sir. No.
Okay, so now we go to the next question is, so if you have an undeveloped piece of property that's already been zoned, one of the 4,800 square foot lots, then what happens?
Again, by the plat.
So the plat, then they have to go back to this, they're subject to the new zoning?
No, so
Or the-
if it is a piece of property that was platted pre-2026, pre-Jan 1 of 2026. So say a developer walked in here 2 months ago and he's gonna put in 5,000 square foot lots, okay? You have to allow those 5,000 square foot lots for their eternity, unless somebody was to combine 2 of them and make them a 10,000 square foot. Does that make sense? At that point,
So if it's already platted for the 5 lots,
Yes.
but if they take that property and try to shrink it down to that, then it's changed the plat.
exactly, that's
Then they have
correct,
to
sir.
follow the new.
Then they would have to follow the NIC.
Right.
That is correct. This only is in regards to properties that have already been platted under 75,000 square feet. Anybody over that 75,000 would need to, once that use changes, apply to this. Yes, ma'am.
Regardless if there's a new owner.
Yes.
Okay. So that passes to the next owner, the next owner, the next
That's what
owner.
I was wondering, so how many years?
Yes.
Unless they
That's-
change the
Until
plat.
it gets, always, until it gets replatted, yes. That goes with property, because again, you cannot, it was a city-induced hardship. Y'all approved that 4,800 way back when, and so y'all have to continue to move forward with that unless somebody was to make it bigger and then wish to come into the new zoning ordinance.
This is Chris, I had a question.
Yes, sir.
Was it really 75,000 or 75?
7,500, thank you, sir. You're just gonna
I'm
correct me all
sorry.
night. No, do it. It's a good thing. Keep me on my toes. It's necessary. So yeah, so that requirement, that discussion of y'all's lots that are smaller than 7,500 would go with the plat for the lifetime of the plat. Because then at that point, what would happen if y'all were not to do that, or if for some reason y'all were decided to go get against our guidance and enforce something that we're telling y'all shouldn't, at that point, that gives that property owner the legal standpoint to sue y'all for a regulatory taking, and they will win the case.
I know in our neighborhood, we have some houses that have a vacant lot next to it.
Mhm.
So if somebody walks in and they buy that house with that lot next to it, and they join them, then it goes by the new, because it's been
So you-
replatted.
Yes.
It would be replatted. That's then gonna get into a discussion that we're gonna have at a separate date of what I'm gonna need to explain to y'all, and we're all gonna need to have a very honest discussion, and I really recommend that we do some learning education on how adopting a new zoning ordinance works, because not necessarily a new owner means new zoning. That's not, it is a new use means new zoning. So if somebody were to change the use of a property from one to another, then they would have to abide by the new zoning. However, if somebody were to continue on that existing use, they do not have to abide by the new zoning ordinance. That goes back again to regulatory taking clauses within the Texas state legislature and our state codes and regulations. There is an amortization clause built into y'all's ordinance that I have included because this has been something that has started to become a more widely used tool. And an amortization clause pretty much means that after X period of time, every property owner is expected to be within the new zoning ordinance. What that means would be after the typical is 80 years, that person that has had a commercial property in the middle of a residential area would have to change their use. However, that amortization period has to be very long to make sure you are not doing a regulatory taking. What regulatory taking means is that you are diminishing the taxable or the income of that property owner by making that change. So they could say that you are inducing hardship on them or that you are causing issues to their livelihood, and they could sue you for that, and they would most likely win in most of those cases. That is kind of why that period is in there and why we're going to have to do some education on. We cannot just force people into the new zoning ordinance. It has to be as uses change or as people voluntarily decide to move to the new zoning ordinance. And that is another discussion that I've been having with Shannon and that we will be having with Lee before our next meeting or before this is finally adopted in December. We've been throwing around the idea of having an open grace period. So typically when people come in, they have to do, they have to pay for the zoning change, all those kinds of things. There's been a discussion, however, it has not been decided. We still have to discuss all the legal things, the background of all this, of a open zoning period for 6 months. So from January 1 to June 1, that would allow any property owner that would like to voluntarily go into the new zoning to do so without the charge. And it would automatically put that property into the new zoning. The reason that charge would be waived is because it would make the city's life easier putting them into the new zoning versus having that property in the old zoning. And additionally, it would make it to where we can easily keep track of all those things and have as many moved forward as possible. It's kind of an incentive towards people to make that change if their property is already within the regulations that this would allow them to be.
Are we going to be sending out notices to people so they have that opportunity? In the paper?
So yeah, so this is a full zoning update is now handled a little bit differently after September 1 of this year. Previously, if you did a full zoning update, you would have had to send mailing notices to the entire city. After September 1, that changed, and it has to be in the newspaper, on the city website, and 2 public hearings. So that will be the way that that is done. However, if y'all decide to go forward with the, like grace period, or if Lee thinks that is a good idea, of course, y'all could discuss at that point, maybe doing mail outs just to try to get people to incentivize into that process. However, that does come at the cost of doing mail outs. So, okay. The difference between SF 7.5, 10, and 12 is just the square footage on each of those. It changes the setbacks required by each and the maximum impervious cover and stuff like that.
So on both those, your minimum lot width and minimum lot depths, like for example, the first one, that's 8,000 square feet. So how do we have there's a discrepancy there, right? 80 and 100. Minimum lot width 80, minimum lot depth 100.
That will be resolved. That needs to be changed to 75.
Same as the next one, slightly off.
We will resolve both of those issues.
And then for that first regulation, the minimum floor, 1,600 square feet, does that seem reasonable to you guys?
Let's,
1,600?
if I can ask that we wait to hold off on those discussions until I can show y'all one of the tables later on in this, where we can look at all that on one piece of paper versus going through the text, if y'all are okay with that. It just makes my life easier when writing up notes. Is that okay?
It's fine.
Okay. So if y'all are okay with the purpose of all those SF districts and the 75, 10,000, and 12, are we happy with those things?
So there wasn't there one more? Wasn't there like an acre
No,
estate lot?
no, not anymore. That was changed to your 12,000 square foot. It was changed to SF 12.
Where did I read that at?
I saw that in the.
Because it was talking about septic and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
the one that
and-
was milled out, it was in there. And
When
a
it was
acre-
mailed out,
Yeah, and 1 acre lot and a half acre lot.
that's county. That has nothing to do with
No,
us.
that was, no, I just, maybe it was in the subdivision. It was talking about
Subdivision.
acre lots.
It was
Subdivision regulations, yes, they will have
Okay.
those differences in them, yes, sir.
Yeah, it was in the subdivision.
Because it was talking about drainage and curb and gutters and all that stuff.
Yeah, that'll be a whole different discussion.
I didn't know anything.
Okay.
Totally different discussion. Yes, sir, those are in there.
Okay.
Totally different discussion, however. So, okay, are we happy with all those districts? Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
sir.
can talk about setbacks in the next.
Yes,
Okay,
that'll
so
be on the
that's fine.
table.
Okay.
All the number stuff will be on the table here in a little bit after we look at the map. I just want to discuss the district itself and the purpose of that district and how that district will be used. Then we're gonna look at the map and y'all can decide if y'all are okay with the map, and then we're gonna look at the numbers and how each of those districts is divided up. Sound good? Okay. So next is the townhouse residential district. This is, as it is so equivalently titled, for townhomes. And it has regulations in regards to how those townhomes are built, their setbacks, their height standards, and how they are built and their lot coverage. Do y'all have any issues with the townhome district being established? With us, with the city of West Tawakoni having a townhome district?
I don't, I just think we just make sure that we're pinpointing them in the city.
Yes.
Make sure that they're not just gonna go everywhere.
They're very specific.
Yes. Okay. Y'all have any other concerns in regards to the townhome district?
Just to know where we're supposed to be on this.
Oh, sorry, 45.
Okay.
I apologize.
We're like,
I'm
I apologize.
Because I haven't seen this before tonight,
No, you're good.
so it's hard for me to say, yeah, I don't have any issues because I haven't read it.
Oh, I emailed this to all of you last week.
Mm,
Okay, so let's stop real quick.
Yep.
Page 46,
Mhm.
here's where I read it. A minimum of 100% masonry material, brick, stone, and stucco on the first floor.
That will be fixed. Thank you, sir.
I think that's in all of them, actually, all sections. Maybe it's not, but
I
just saw
really
that
hope
one.
it's not. You might be right. I really
I-
hope it's
I
not,
remember
because I
reading
spent
it, so-
3 hours taking those out recently. But I will get that fixed. Thank you for pointing that out, sir. Don't know why that's there. Okay, we will get that taken out. I promise you, after that legislation change, I went in and that shows how hard it is to change it in 200 and something pages, but we will get it all fixed. Okay, so that's that. The next one would be a duplex district, so 2-family residential district. This one is established separately from page 51. This is established differently than a multifamily district because of the main point of a 2-home duplex is typically a much lesser use, a much lesser impact than a multifamily district would be. So multifamily would mean apartments, quadplexes, things of that nature. So we separate out duplex to allow for those lower uses in more areas versus what you would typically want a multifamily building being in. That's the reason why we've separated it from the townhome and the apartments, the multifamily.
so we got that repeated here. So you got 2-family duplex also in the townhouse section with different numbers here on page 46.
that's what I saw.
And this is why we do this, because this has had like 6 eyes on it, so we want to make sure we go through it with you.
Page 46.
And do you want to take out patio homes on that as well that we discussed earlier today?
Yeah, I think we need one or the other, and patio homes have a 0 lot line bill. That means no setback. I don't like it, but y'all.
I'd rather take that out. That's,
That
I don't
was-
think that really fits in with our city.
I told
Yes.
you, I was like, they're
Yeah.
not gonna have it.
We took it out of this earlier today, and we just didn't, that was a discussion this morning, so.
But then you get into easements and angry neighbors, and it's just better to get rid of it all.
Okay, so that will be made, duplexes will come out of the townhomes, and it'll be handled here, and then is there any other issues in regards to duplex? Just like the use of it. I'm gonna move on to the next one. The next one is multifamily residential. So like I mentioned earlier, this would be used for, oh, thank you, Shannon. This would be used for any developments with multiple units above 2. So you would think apartment buildings, quadplexes, anything like that, for those uses.
This one has a 3-story in it too.
Mhm. Which for that is more, that would be more normal. For an apartment building, 3
Yeah,
stories
for
would be more
apartments.
normal. Versus the situation with the ag that his question brought up was a single family home would need to be 35 feet. We'll make that correction. Okay. Next one, manufactured home subdivision. So this is gonna be the biggest change from what West Tawakoni has seen in the past. In the past, y'all have had SF1, SF2, SF3, SF4. We're looking at page 57. This is gonna be the biggest change. So in y'all's old ordinance, certain things were allowed in certain districts. So like manufactured homes would be allowed in this one and this one, but they weren't allowed in this one and this one. In this version, manufactured homes are only allowed in these certain subdivision areas. So they will no longer be allowed within your standard SF 7.5, 10, and 12. Does that kind of make sense there? So that is what will happen. And this ordinance not only will describe manufactured home, single family, single lots, but it'll also discuss subdivision of land into manufactured home subdivisions and the regulations and how they would have to go about doing that as well.
But RVs are still not allowed in this.
RVs are still not allowed, no sir. RVs are not allowed anywhere besides the recreational district, and we'll get to that in a second. This also note, this is only HUD code homes, which y'all already have that ordinance in place, but this is only for anything post 1976. Do y'all have any questions with that district or adding that district? Because that's not one that y'all used to have in y'all zoning. We said we were going to discuss that with you. Okay, then we will keep it. Do y'all have that as a separate ordinance, or is that something y'all want? Do y'all want to put that in here? Okay.
Why that?
Look.
And what is that?
Where they can't be any older than 5 years. So, like, for instance.
They can't move a new one in that's over 5 years.
Correct. So you can't come down here where they're having to move all these out and move it somewhere else in the city unless it's 5 years old or newer.
And the reason why that's not just automatically included is because we have some attorneys that say yes and some that say no. So Lee said yes, and we're moving forward with
He
it.
said, yes, have it in writing.
And I've never seen a case on that one, so I can't, like, the other ones that I was discussing earlier where I was like, the state will do this, that one I've never seen a case on, so we just go with whatever the attorney suggests on those situations. Okay, so those are all of your residential districts. So those are the ones in which people are allowed to live residence on. Now we're going to get into non-residential. So we're starting on page 63 for non-residential districts. The first one is your general commercial. So this will be most of West Tawakoni. Y'all will not use a lot of the districts that we are going to discuss in this. However, we have included them for the purposes of if the city ever wishes to use them, or if a developer ever came in wanting to do any of these, it gave y'all the ability to do so and enforce it appropriately. So you will not be using most of these, but we still gave y'all the text and regulations to be able to do so in the future. So general commercial, that would be any commercial, you know, uses of any sort for y'all. Is there any questions in regards to a general commercial district being established within the city? Okay. The next one, starting on page 66, that is a neighborhood business district or a neighborhood commercial district. This one is one that will not be used currently within y'all zoning ordinance. However, will be one that y'all would be able to enforce future on if a developer or if the city ever chose to redo y'all zoning map, or even now, if we wish to add one, we can. But this is one that currently we do not plan on the city using. This is a turned down version of a general commercial. So neighborhood commercial, think of a coffee shop in the middle of a residential district, or a florist that has a business in the middle of a residential. Those kind of smaller uses that would not hurt or cause any impact to a day-to-day residential area. Things like that. So typically how you would see this done in big cities is you would have, general commercial, neighborhood commercial, and then residential. And so it acts as a buffer in between the two. However, for West Tawakoni's case currently, y'all don't have really a use for this right now, looking at y'all's parcel layout and the design of y'all's city. However, that doesn't mean y'all won't have a use for it in the future, so we'd rather give it to y'all in case it's needed. And this would also be typically used within a planned development. If somebody were to come in and do a developer's agreement and they wanted to do a large subdivision and they wanted some type of business, small business within it, you do neighborhood commercial over that area. Is there any business?
So does that work if they were to develop, if a developer was to develop, like have small businesses on the bottom and then have residential on top?
That will be later on in the ordinance.
Okay.
That would be a little bit different. That is handled in here though. So now we're on to page 69. This is the recreational district. For those that are new, I'm going to go over this again. For those that have been on this board since we were discussing the zoning ordinance, y'all should have an understanding of what this district is. However, this is a district that we kind of specially created for y'all when we started working with y'all on the comprehensive planning process because of y'all's situation with so much lakeside frontage, with so many RV parks in the area, how to handle that and do it in a way that's going to become a beautification project and make it West Tawakoni beautiful and nicer as a whole. So the recreational district would be for any recreational properties. So those would be anything like parks, lakeside frontage, things like that that are used typically for public use or for a commercial public use. They allow for RVs because y'all are on the lake. RVs are typically something that would be in this area, but they are now required to have much more. They have to have short-term rentals. They are not allowed to be there for a certain period of time. They are only allowed to do these certain things, and all those regulations become much more strict within this. It also provides, how many you're only allowed so many RVs spots per acre. You're only allowed all those types of things. It also then allows those areas to have things such as some commercial purposes. So, for instance, you take, the park or the leg that comes out over here, and you'd say, okay, well, we will allow RVs on that, but we'll also allow, a restaurant on the water, or we will allow things such as a bait and tackle shop or a kayak rental place, or things like that would also be allowed in that area. No residential purposes, no permanent residence, anything of that nature, all of that would not be allowed. Unlike currently where we do see long-term permanent residences of RVs in some of those areas currently. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
Is there a time frame, how long these RVs can sit on that property?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, and that will fall into the city's already existing short-term rental ordinance. And then also there's rules in here on how long you're allowed to be on that property as well.
Still, that's only in the new. If we have the properties already out back there, they fall in the deal. There's no way to enforce it.
That's going to be a lead question.
I don't know the answer to that.
Because I don't know the answer to that one. That's going to depend on how the city's adopted the short-term rental ordinance that y'all already have in place. That is typically a separate ordinance from your zoning ordinance. So depending on how that was adopted will depend on the answer to that question.
Well, a lot of the HOAs have their own bylaws
Well, that's typical.
pertaining to that, so.
Because HOAs can establish restrictions that the city can't enforce, but they can enforce.
Yeah.
But we don't have traditional HOAs here either. They're all,
Most
technically
are
neighborhood
voluntary.
so they
And-
really don't have any power unless they're mandatory.
In our short
So
term.
that's what I'm wondering, so can the city enforce it if
I don't think the city can enforce HOA documents.
We cannot,
I don't believe so.
but we do, especially our mandatory HOAs, we require them to give permission for things that are built, because if I were to issue a permit and it violated those covenants, while I can't enforce it, that HOA can come back and say absolutely not, and your permit's good. So we always get the HOA approval first on the mandatory HOA.
So there's some RVs in neighborhoods now that people are living in that, I was just wondering if they're gonna be grandfathered in, even though they're not supposed to be.
Well,
They're
yeah,
not supposed to be, and if we can prove that they're living in them without a doubt, then we can do something about it. Because they're not supposed to be there.
and that kind of falls into the comprehensive planning document that we gave y'all earlier in the year, where we kind of outlined those types of things of going through the processes, making sure y'all are checking water meters and stuff very regularly to try to figure out if you can prove that people are living on those properties to be able to do the code enforcement measures necessary to get rid of those properties.
Are we updating that, or can we get a copy, those of us that are new? Because,
The comprehensive plan,
uh-huh,
I'm waiting on the finalized copy.
Okay.
We've adopted it, I'm just waiting on it.
okay.
and that one would
I
not
need
be
to
from,
remember to ask for it again.
yeah, that one's not from me, that one's from Jacob.
Okay.
We just helped with a portion of it. So I wish I could be like, yes, I will send that to you right now, but that's through a
No, I
different
will
company.
get it, and once I get it, I'll send it out. to everybody.
Is there any other questions in regards to the recreational district that we've established?
What's the real difference between that and PD? I mean, because PD kind of allows for permits and flexibility for putting a restaurant, you know, by the lake and things like that, so.
I would say all that's gonna fall under Sabine River Authority. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have-
plan development is a totally different tool.
I mean, docks,
Um,
docks, piers, boat ramps, all that's gonna fall under Sabine River.
Yeah, I don't think you can build anything real permanent like a restaurant, I don't think.
You probably
You
could, but
can't
you're gonna have to
you
get
can't
them.
have potable water. you know,
Yeah.
So, but you can build pretty much anything, but you can't have potable water.
Yeah.
And anything built on the water is controlled by FEMA.
Yeah. So the difference between establishing the recreational district, that would be giving y'all the ability to determine the uses on that piece of property. So no matter if it was Sabine building on it or somebody else, y'all still get to say, you know, these things are allowable,
Right.
these things are not. So for instance, if for some reason Sabine were allowed to a restaurant, that would be allowable. Or if they were to allow XYZ, y'all would allow that. However, y'all would not allow these other things on that piece of property. A planned development district is a totally different tool. It is almost like a developer's agreement. That's the easiest way to think about it, where that is in regards to a lot more contracting, a lot more differentiational uses, than just establishing kind of, well, this can go on here and this can't. A planned development would be a much larger scale version of that, which would even go into discussions of water lines, sewer lines, and all that type of stuff as well.
Do we have PD here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It is in here. It'll be in the next section.
Okay.
Most all this stuff is actually in the county and not the city. Everything in the Sabine River Authority is in the county.
No, it's not.
That's,
There's a lot of it in the city.
There is a lot.
how can that be when they're county?
It depends on when it was at. Like all of our property is in this county. That's Sabine, but that's what I was about to ask. That whole point, is that all in
That's
the
also
city?
Sabine.
I know it's Sabine, but is it in the
That is
city?
not-
It's
or
in
is
the
it
city.
county?
Yes.
Mhm.
That
If
red
it's in
line.
color, it's in the city.
Like, 'cause I know our entire neighborhood, our fence line is the city limit line.
Yeah, there's like a portion on some of the neighborhoods, there's a portion between the property and the lake that is Sabine, and some of that is not in the city. But like, those marinas, so where the boat ramp is, that's all city. Anchorin's all city. Most of the two marinas down there, a lot of that off of Rabbit Cove down the end, a good portion of that's in the city. But it's still Sabine too.
What I'm saying is though, but if it's in the city, you can still regulate some of it, but if it's out the city, then it's also down 100%.
Stuff in color, we have the regulatory ability over.
And a lot of the surveying, the county doesn't regulate either. So
Sabine,
like,
they
everybody
regulate
just got
everything.
this notice from the Lake Tawakoni Planning, which is not the city. Everybody thinks it's the city, it's not us. That is the county. So I had to ask what it was. And basically what I was told is if you're in the city limits, it does not qualify, it does not. pertain to you
That's,
at
that
all.
was my question.
And
too,
so then I
because
was
they
like,
told
well, what
us
about the
they-
property between? But she said that's the bean. It doesn't.
I was told that our back property goes by that, but they mailed us. And then the
See?
front part of the property is y'all.
One of the ladies on the board told me it doesn't pertain to
Yeah, I
that.
was told something different.
That's scary.
That's,
We were
that's
told
where
that-
we're getting at, so.
Half our property is county, Sabine River Authority. We don't own the property, we lease it.
Right, it's the least.
But we were told that these regulations that were mailed out, that piece of property goes by those regulations, which it's kind of pointless anyways, because you still can't build a livable area on it.
Yeah, they won't let you build on it either. A dock, maybe a boathouse, if you're lucky. That's about all you're getting out of them.
They'll let you build anything, they'll let you build
As long as you
anything,
pay the
you pay a
permit.
permit for it.
You gotta get a permit. So you can do.
Oh, yeah.
If you pay them, they'll let you build it.
Oh, yeah. Couple $100.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
So anyway, we don't have any control of that.
okay. That discussion, we good there on recreational, Sabine, not Sabine, all that the lovely jostle up that creates. But, so next is your light industrial district. That would be on page 72. It is what the name says, light industrial uses, light manufacturing, low to moderate intensity industrial purposes. Again, this is one that will not be used, but we're leaving it in y'all's ordinance to be able to use in the future if ever necessary.
Well, we are using it, right? 'Cause all of
No.
our storage units are light industrial, right? Both storage. Didn't we talk about another business coming in?
I
remember that.
Last meeting.
It was down
Yeah.
by the
We
lake.
talked about it being on that light green block.
But it was purple at the time when we were talking about it.
Yeah, we'll get there in a second. Y'all are not using this in y'all's zone. Y'all are thinking future land use. Yes, we did have a light industrial in the future land use. This is zoning. Zoning is a version of the future land use map. It is not the future land use map. So, for zoning discussions, we are not using light industrial. Y'all still have it in y'all's toolbox in case y'all ever need it. Okay. And then next, page 74, industrial. Again, what it sounds like, moderate to high intensity industrial manufacturing uses. Again, not being used within y'all's city limits currently. However, we are providing it to y'all in case y'all ever need it. Next one, and this is where we get into the instance of what you were just talking about. So this is the business park district. This is page 76. This is the one that y'all will be using instead of that light industrial. So if y'all remember on the future land use map, we had a piece of property that was marked light industrial. Through conversations both with y'all, with Shannon, with Mary, with council, we all decided that instead of marking that as light industrial, what issues that would cause is that would be putting a light industrial property on the city water. On the waterfront of the city. Sorry, there's the corrected sentence. While y'all could have done that, yes, that opens up a lot of doors that say if that company would leave or, what we think is going to happen or not to happen, whatever, if 20 years down the line somebody else were to move in, whatever that chances would be, well, they would have all the abilities of that light industrial property. We don't want to give them all those abilities if they're going to be on the waterfront and be on our major highways. Does that make sense? So instead, we added the business park district. This is not one that was on future land use because business park falls underneath the same way how on the future land use map we had single family. Well, we divided that into three things. On the future land use map we had industrial. We divided that into business park, light industrial, and industrial. So business park is for lesser uses of industrial, but still that would have more of you might need a more higher population. It might need higher city services. It might need, more intensity on city utilities, but not necessarily the noise, the safety issues that industrial might have. Does that make sense to everybody? So this is what we are proposing for that piece, and this is the one that we would end up using. This is kind of also the ones that you see if you look at Dallas, Fort Worth, Frisco, where you see these business parks where it's, you know, the 2-story, 3-story buildings with nice landscaping, trees, proper, you know, things versus your light industrials would be more like manufacturing places where you have the semis coming in and out every single day, or an Amazon warehouse or things like that. Are you happy with using the business park district? Next is the downtown district. This one is going to require some discussion because I feel like most of this has not been discussed yet, correct?
Not at all.
Okay. So I'm now putting on my second hat. So some of y'all don't know me. My name is Caitlin. I don't know if I even introduced myself. Hello, my name is Caitlin. I've been talking with y'all for so long. I apologize. So far today, I've had my planner hat on for y'all. I'm going to take that hat off for a second. I'm going to go put the grant management side of my hat on because public management is both y'all's grant administrative company and y'all's planning company. Y'all work with us on both sides. So switching hats for a second. We have come to y'all with the opportunity to do a downtown revitalization program grant and go after those types of funding. A part of that grant and a part of that requirement is to have an established downtown district, hence why downtown district we're about to discuss when I put the planning cap back on. What this will allow is it will allow the city to do things such as utility projects, parks projects, any type of revitalization of y'all's downtown area. I say in quotes, whatever we establish as y'all's downtown. This money we brought it to y'all because y'all scored very well. Y'all scored very well. Y'all also scored in such a way in which y'all are open to more capabilities. So for some of our cities, they might score well, but they're only open to this type of funding. Y'all scored well, plus y'all have other aspects of y'all's city that scored y'all into this ability of funding. So y'all are able to diversify the project that y'all decide to do. None of this requires a, hard, fast, hey, we're going to spend this much. None of this requires a, hey, we're going to do this. They've changed the application process to where it is a 2-phase application. So all we have to do is the first phase, y'all have to say, we're going to work with public management on this. Amazing, great.
We did that.
Yeah, y'all already did that. That's all y'all had to do. We're going to submit the application. And then if they decide to invite y'all to phase 2, that's when we get to start the more fun, okay, how much money do we have? What do we want to do? All those types of discussions. But to be able to do those, we need to have a downtown district established, and y'all just kind of fell in perfect timing where we were already doing this. So we get to do it hand in hand to help with that grant. Is there any questions in regards to that? I know I kind of went over it really fast.
This is not a small grant.
No.
This is like,
So-
what is it, 1 point something mil grant?
Yeah.
So it would be positioned on commercial property then, correct?
Yes, sir.
Or would it be on recreation?
It is. It is allowed to be on commercial or recreation.
It is. On gold.
Yeah, that's great. I got a great spot.
So do we. It's in blue.
So so once the grant comes back and is stamped,
Mhm.
then we get back together and say, hey, I'd like this here or this there. Or like,
It
Maybe
cannot be used for residential.
right, but it could be used for like a,
Cannot use
City
it for
hall
building.
thing?
No.
No building.
There's a
It
lot
can
of
be used for like sidewalks,
uh,
infrastructure, lighting.
park, new park investments.
Oh, yeah. Yes. There's a lot it can be used for, but buildings is not one of them.
okay.
What about sewage?
That's
infrastructure.
infrastructure. That's one of the things it's allowed to be in. It just, whatever project you choose has to be within the downtown area. And I also want to, caveat that with, there's a lot of things you can do. I am not a grant specialist. I am just somebody that can speak on our grant manager's behalf. Y'all's actual grant manager that has been assigned to y'all is Morgan. Her name is Morgan Barrett. She is amazing. She does DRPs all day long. I do not know how she does it because I would never have the patience. But she does these types of grants all the time. She's done multiple in the past few years. Part of this whole process, which she will explain much better than I will once y'all get, and if y'all get to that stage in this grant application, is how to pick a project. Because there might be 10 million projects that we think would be great. However, which one will the state actually fund is a totally different question and a totally different discussion. And that's where her knowledge and her abilities come into play, and being able to tell y'all how things will score, how we know from our discussions with the agency and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, but I will say y'all have a much wider choice of options than what some of our other clients had, and y'all scored really high. We do not bring y'all grants unless we think there's a really good possibility for y'all getting money, because we don't want to get y'all's hopes up. Now, that being said, it is a state agency and it is a grant, so who knows? But we have a good feeling. We're going to put our time into getting this application submitted, because we think y'all are going to do well on it. And this is also the first year that it's been kind of open to cities of y'all's capabilities. This one probably wasn't one that was available to y'all in years past. So yeah, that's kind of the situation. Any other questions in regards to the DRP grant before I switch over to the downtown district? Yes, sir.
So
Go ahead. Mine's better.
our downtown is just 276, right?
According to this map, yes, currently.
So as far as sidewalks and stuff, right, you said it's like pathways.
Mhm.
I was wondering, do they do like sculpture, like a 80-foot steel catfish?
I have no idea.
I have no idea. That can be a Morgan question.
Definitely a Morgan question.
I mean, they do park improvements. If you write the application right, maybe. But
I didn't go. I go to Austin.
okay.
So is the area that's been discussed to be our downtown, is it the light blue?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Which includes our park.
Yes.
okay, and the little
There was
area
a reason.
on the bottom that's not blue, see how it's blue and then there's a little area in the middle? What is that?
That's residential.
That's residential.
Oh, okay.
And so that's the only reason why
It is shaped a little odd, but that is because we have a lot of residential and you
Mhm.
can't use it for residential. But we were really trying to keep the park in there because the park is like one of our main
Mhm.
assets.
Right.
And it kind of puts it in the center, puts City Hall in there. It also puts our new development here in there. So it'll pull some of that in. So that's just why we picked that area. Mainly the park is so we could pull that into the downtown area.
Okay. So now we're on to special districts and overlay districts, starting on page 81. So the first one is this mixed use district. That is what you were discussing earlier, ma'am, in regards to living on the bottom, working on top. Working on the bottom, living on top. Also, just discuss property as a whole that could be used as mixed use. So, a total property that can be divided into a couple different uses if necessary. This one was put in place mainly because of y'all's new development north of the highway over there in Lake Peak, underneath the golf course. That's what that kind of was established for, and we can go into that in more abilities. However, for the most part, it just changes to where all it's going to do is it's going to say, depending on the use of that, you have to do the regulatory. So if they decide to do something that would be commercial, then they have to do commercial setbacks. If they decide to do something multifamily, they'd have to do multifamily setbacks. Things like that. Additionally, it would just allow for general discussion and allowability of those types of developments.
There's already all been approved.
Yes. And this is also put in place because it's put, so this is a good example. That one's already been approved. Y'all are already aware of that one. So they would technically be under the old ordinance. However, by including this within the new ordinance and including them on that section within the map, that would give them the ability to understand that incentive to change over to the new ordinance versus saying, well, you didn't include me, so I'm going to stay in the old one. Does that make sense? It helps make sure that we're not having as many turnovers and we're trying to get as many things to go towards that new ordinance as possible. Okay. Plan development district. So a PD district is particularly appropriate for large scale or master plan developments, projects involving multiple uses or unconventional layouts, redevelopment areas with unique constraints and opportunities, and developments seeking design or operational features beyond the scope of standard zoning districts. This is not one that the city will use as a established district itself, meaning it will not be on the map. However, it will be a possibility if a developer came in that they would be able to do the things within this ordinance. And this is a tool particularly for Shannon, in the way in which it outlines how these things are done, how somebody would have to submit an application for this, how y'all would go about handling that application if it was submitted, how they would have to handle drainage, infrastructure, all that kind of stuff, and how those discussions would be held. This is very standard within all ordinances, any zoning ordinances nowadays, because it's a very good tool to help incentivize builders to come and have discussions versus automatically deciding, well, we don't have a district we fit into and not coming to your city. Okay. Last one, floodplain. Oh, this is not the last one. I do not believe. No, this is the last one. After this, there will be 1 or 2 added. This is where we will add the tiny home districts and things like that. We'll go after this once we get those done. Those have not been added yet to date. Last one, floodplain overlay. This is a federal required FEMA thing. But I'm going to put it plain and simple. It will go where your floodplains are within your city, which for being on the lake, y'all have very little floodplain. It baffles me. It will cover those areas. An overlay, all that means is that they will still have to abide by the zoning underneath it. However, they will also have to abide by this additional overlay of rules and regulations over top of them because they are within a floodplain. This is standard for any zoning ordinance, any city. Most cities even have this without having zoning. They'll have a floodplain.
I think just Bean River already owns all the floodplain. Or we own the correctly. All the FEMA. It's a FEMA.
I've been bumping it.
You're the savior back there. Thank you.
It turns out,
You can fix that in the settings.
I'm sure.
Okay. Okay. We've made it through all the districts. Woohoo. Oh, it's okay. We've made it through all the districts. Woohoo. I'm proud of y'all. It's been an hour. Do y'all have any questions in regards to all the districts we've established? Do y'all think that there's any other districts we should look into besides the ones that we discussed, the ones in regards to tiny homes and things like that? And those won't necessarily be districts. Those will just be things that will be addressed within the districts already established.
You already have those marked where they're gonna be.
The tiny homes and stuff. So they won't be districts, so they won't be on here, but what it would be is tiny homes would only be allowed in the manufactured home district.
Okay.
Manufactured, recreational, and planned development.
There we
Those
go.
are the 3 they're allowed in.
So what do the storage units lie under? What district?
Live.
We're not using.
But it will, yeah.
Hold on. That'll be this one here in a second.
Okay.
We'll get in that discussion here in a second. Okay, so y'all are happy with the districts themselves. Y'all do not think any more districts need to be added, any more single family districts, any more residential districts, any more commercial districts. Y'all think y'all have a good spread to be able to maintain the city with what has been given?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
So, one
Matt.
question though.
Yes,
Can
go
I
for it.
ask it? Are we going to divide up the city based on those SF 7.5s, SF 10?
It currently is on that map, but it is open to change.
Okay, maybe I can't see.
Yes, I'm about to zoom in.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I have to move. I didn't want to print out like a giant version of this map that I knew was going to be subject to change. I thought it would be easier to zoom in and show y'all as we discuss. So I'm going to start. Oh, no, you're good. Oh, that's good. Okay.
So is the Blue Area already city-owned land, or is it? It's not?
What?
The downtown, it's not city-owned, is it?
No, it's not city owned. Downtowns don't have to be city owned.
Yeah, but I'm getting at is everybody wants to come in and change it for our storage buildings there, if they already own that, that's the problem we're running into now.
Yeah, that's the bad thing about zoning, and it's kind of what I said when we first started this discussion of, we want to do this and we want to start this and it should just happen automatically, but there's no way to do that. We just have to have it in good conscience and be proud of ourselves that we're doing the thing now so that it will change in the coming years. So starting out over here, this will all be SF12. that will be the 12,000 square foot district. Anything in this reddy pinky color is gonna be your general commercial, as it goes along the roadway. This is SF 7.5, so this is the smallest, single family district. Keep in mind, most of these lots in here are smaller than that. However, any of these bigger pieces would be allowed to only replat to SF 7.5.
So why do we have residential lots in that? Because I see right there on your mouse is, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 residential lots in commercial. And there's already houses on those too. Are we saying that those houses will be torn down and become commercial?
I think the idea was that eventually they would become, as years go on, that they would become commercial of some sort. Yes, would be the hope. However, that can all be changed. Pretty much what we did is it was a 500-foot or something foot setback from the front property.
Well, that was my next question. Is so we got just in front of those 12,000 square foot lots. That's a very deep commercial. Is anybody going to be able to use that much for commercial?
We did that by the parcel. So that is the shallowest length of, not shallow, the longest length of those parcels is to that point. Now, mind you, we can split a parcel, and that is another discussion we can have that Shannon and I have been having already. However, we'll have that discussion now. So there's a thing called horizontal zoning, which we can establish in what we were looking at calling a highway corridor district overlay. So it'll be a highway overlay, so it would go all along 276, and it would be any parcel that abuts Highway 276. The first certain amount of frontage of that would have to be commercial, and the following frontage of that would be residential uses. Part of that is very useful because in West Tawakoni, y'all have very long lots along the highway. But it also then creates the situation of y'all have these long lots, but okay, if we're splitting it, commercial has to be in the front, residential has to be in the back. Y'all have to realize that, okay, whoever the property owner is gonna have some way to get vehicles back there to the back, or, properly access to all those areas, which causes some issues in that front. It also makes it to where enforcing is a little bit more difficult when you enforce such districts, because it requires proper surveying and all that kind of stuff, which can be more difficult to get and more costly at the property owner or on the city, depending on what the agreement is that comes to it. This is more done currently as a to the parcel line, just as an ease of simplicity. However, all this can be changed. This is all just draft. As y'all saw earlier, we have multiple things to fix in the ordinance itself. So open to discussion how y'all see it.
Well, as of now, what is that zone? Is that agricultural right now?
Interesting.
This area.
This one.
Let's. I think there's some certain things on it, like
That's
there's
commercial.
Margie's and there's
Well, that big long one right there is Penny Mart.
Mart, yeah.
That big long pink one, that's Penny Mart.
So that was another thing is that's
And
way
it's
too
in the
much
front,
commercial going back
And
there.
there's nothing back there. And it's one tract of land, so.
So ideally, you would have commercial up front, and then the rest of it behind it would be residential.
And that's where the horizontal zoning.
Now, say even those deep lots like that, if say you ever have a developer come in, they want to do commercial up front, but that's way too much property. Do they have the ability to say, okay, well, let's take some of this residential behind it?
Any developer has the possibility to come in and ask for a planned development district and have those exact.
But they wouldn't be able to rezone it without doing a planned development. But after we pass this,
They could rezone it to single family, but they would be rezoning the whole lot. They could make the choice to replat it and keep the front flat commercial and ask to rezone the back half to single family. If they didn't want to go through all that, they would come through with a planned development rezone for the whole property.
So all that's pretty much already zoned as commercial.
Currently, yes, that's where Penny Mart.
That's what I was trying to get at. Are we trying to make them?
No, it's currently,
So it's all currently commercial, so we can, that's what I was wondering. So they can't,
I'm pretty sure that's currently commercial.
because if it's agricultural, we can't make them
That is
commercial.
most definitely.
Could be
currently
recreational,
commercial.
because if you go back in there, you can see where people put up their tents.
I'm just getting that, we want it to be commercial, but if it's not commercial, we can't make them be commercial.
currently zoned, that entire block out there is commercial. R zoning.
So the areas that are zoned commercial but have a house on them that people are living in, are they being taxed commercial?
No, okay, that's gonna be one thing I say right now, and I want everybody to listen to me. Listening ears on, I'm gonna be like kindergarten in the future. Zoning does not mean taxing. Totally different things handled by totally different entities. Zoning is by the city, taxes are by the county. The county never does your tax assessments or anything based off of city zoning. That is never a thing. I'm pretty sure that's not even allowed on the Texas level
Ever sat with that?
to make those decisions. Zoning does not affect.
But zoning does affect your appraisal, which affects your taxes,
Yes,
so.
absolutely.
No,
Yeah.
Well, a commercial zone property is gonna be more expensive than a residential zone property.
not on what you pay on your taxes, on what you could get on your return on investment, yes. But necessarily on what you pay on your taxes, no.
Maybe we need to refer them to legal action, because that's not what Hunt County does.
That's right, yeah.
I was about to say, I might be incorrect, however, every discussion I have ever had, zoning does not constitute your taxable property. Like, it's a hairy situation, but
Well, I
As
know
far
for
as
a
I'm
fact
aware.
that Hunt County has these commercial frontage properties way overvalued compared to the residential property, so.
well,
They're-
yes, because they are on the highway frontage.
Right, exactly, so that's what I'm saying, is it doesn't affect, you're not affecting it,
But the county,
but the
yes,
county is
Yeah.
basically appraising it based on it being commercial, so they're appraising it
Yes.
higher, so they're charging
That's
higher
right.
taxes.
yes, that
It's
is
incorrect, but they're doing it.
Mhm.
That is correct. That is a correct statement. However, that would still be done, even if for some reason the city of West Walkeny decided to make what we have general commercial right now residential. The county would still tax that in the way he is discussing. Our choices here will not change the way the county makes their decisions, is what I'm trying to get at. Now, don't ask me to ever put my brain in the tax collector's head, because I will never understand how they make those decisions. But these two things are totally separate. So none of this will cause, the reason why I make that so clear, and I want to make that very clear, is that y'all are not on the hook for anybody's property being appraised differently. If they have any issues with that, they can take that to the county. That was not done on y'all's level. That was not done on y'all's behalf. And I do not want any residents that might be listening to the live stream or anything like that be confused on that record. All of that has to do with the county, not with the city's zoning ordinances. Sorry if I sounded a little rude. I did not mean to. I just wanted to make sure we did not, because I would hate for residents to come to y'all and be like, hey, y'all did this, and be mad at y'all. So that's not on y'all, and I want to make sure everybody has that understanding so we're clear when we talk to residents. So what were y'all's thoughts in regards to horizontal zoning? When I brought that up.
Well, I think it needs to be an option, because like I said, I don't know what Penny Mart's future is, but if someone ever came in and bought that, I think they would want the option to.
So
It's not practical to have that deep of a commercial lot is what I'm getting at. So I think the option for them to be able to use the front of it as commercial and do a different use.
There is a house behind that Penny Mart right there.
Yeah, there's manufactured.
do you believe that they should have the ability to do that based off of the actions already available within the ordinance, or that should be available without requiring a rezone?
Well, they can always,
Well, I think it'd have to be rezoned,
they
because
can
then,
always
Well,
leave it
that's
like
my
that and
point,
have
is
some.
it,
but that's what I was asking. They can still come and rezone it, even if our map shows that it's all commercial all the way to the back. They can still have the ability, and we still have the ability to make changes.
Yes, at the point that they decided they were gonna build houses back there, they'd have to replat it anyway, right? So they can rezone and replat at the same time.
Right.
and that's kind of what my question is would y'all rather they go through that process, or would y'all rather that we start discussing a horizontal zoning district where automatically right out of the gate, anybody on one of those pieces of property has the ability to do commercial in the front, residential?
I think for most of it's fine, but I think some of these are way too deep. I think we probably do need to discuss it, especially for the Penny Mart one, and probably the ones on this side that will go way back behind those residentials. Because if you're talking about putting commercial that deep into residential, I mean, that affects those people that live there. They don't want big warehouses or commercial districts right behind their house. So I think it does need to be divided up a little bit better than that and restricted from going too far back into residential areas. Because now you got residential completely circling that, all of that commercial.
I'm gonna be honest, that district has already been written on my computer version. It just hasn't been given to y'all because that was a discussion that Shannon and I didn't want to make without group discussion, because it is a large, it's not a normal zoning
So
district.
it could just be rezoned, basically, like you could even do agriculture if somebody wanted to put a pony farm there or something.
The way that I currently have the horizontal zoning district written is that the first 500 feet are zoned commercial. Anything past that 500-foot mark is zoned single family.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
And then if
So then,
they
because that
wanted
would then
anything,
affect that right there. Like, I don't even know how deep that is. I mean, that's pretty deep.
Yeah.
If you're talking about all those residential lots, that's a lot of commercial going back there.
Mhm.
That's probably more than a Walmart needs.
and so if they wanted anything other than single family back there, then they would have to come for land development or something.
Well, Caleb, they go all the way back.
Well, there's a road there, and that's Maze Lane there. But I'm talking about like this one right here.
Here,
It's just tucked back in the middle of nowhere there.
right here.
The circle about all that residential, that's overkill. That shouldn't even be commercial, I would, in my opinion. That should be residential. But I'm not sure, those are probably existing businesses that just own all that lots back
Are
there,
you
right?
talking about,
He's talking about this right here,
Yes,
right
back
here,
there.
where the downtown is.
so
in the
this
front.
would be
Uh-huh.
the property behind yours. And then you've got Lovely RV. And then you've got, that's where the fire department is. And then I think there's a church. And then you've
I'm
got
just thinking about the
the
residents
property
back
beside
there, because if
there.
I lived back there, I would not want all of a sudden all this commercial to just pop up behind my house when I live that far off the highway. That's how I think about it.
For a professional opinion, it was just something we didn't want to put in there and not have y'all discuss. But if that's how y'all would like to move forward, I will include that as one of the districts in the next discussion. And on the properties that have more than, a sustainable amount of frontage, we will include that on the zoning. Okay. So we discussed that this would be SF 7.5 up here. Your general commercial and all the pink, so this would change into horizontal, all this would change into horizontal zoning. Townhomes, for the existing townhomes that are already there, plus they already have platted much more behind what they currently have. So we went ahead and already absorbed what they already have platted to be townhomes. This brown here, that is your manufactured housing, your manufactured home subdivision area. So most of the properties in there are already manufactured homes, so we left them as they be, not making changes. We did absorb a couple of single-family properties into that manufactured home district. However, that does not mean a single-family home can no longer be there. It just means that they're, part of that zoning district. But to make it easier, lines and clarity, that's how we did that.
Why do we have a residential right on the frontage road sandwich between all the commercial on the north side, right above the manufactured homes?
Here?
I don't see your mouse, sorry. Right above your manufactured homes?
Uh-huh.
She's in the manufactured now.
Okay, now, yeah, right there. Like, why do we not have commercial right there on that frontage?
Just because that's one parcel again.
Okay.
And for this whole discussion, we did not split parcels. That was, like I said, that was something that I wanted to come and discuss to y'all today before we made that decision,
Okay.
because that is a much different discussion and a much different job on your code enforcement officer once you start splitting parcels. While I do think it is the best use for the city of West Tawakoni because of the way y'all's parcels are laid out, I did not want to be the one to make that decision.
But if we're
So-
doing it the opposite we should do it on that too, I think.
Yes.
Right, so that's what
It
you're
would
saying,
end up
she was,
being the
sure they would take the first 500 feet of the whole frontage of the highway,
Right.
and that commercial and everything behind it would be a different use.
We discussed that property for some time, that
Mm-hmm.
they had platted it all out and wanted to put like
Yes.
a catch basin there along the highway, protect the eagles and all that kind of stuff. And it didn't work out. I like it to remain as a residential area.
For the full,
I
from
think
the
as
frontage
as
all
of
the
now,
way.
the commercial, it is commercial in the front, isn't it?
I think they
Right
did
now,
have
the front
commercial
200
actually.
feet.
Now
It is,
that
it is already
the-
commercial.
Yeah, the front 200 feet on that one is commercial currently, and the rest of it is agricultural. It's not zoned anything at the
Yeah, so
moment.
it's already commercial.
Yeah, that one will also be when they get changed to that HPO. So this will be your SF10. Most of these lots in here are already over that 10,000 square feet, so we put them into SF10. SF 7.5, because again, most of those are actually way under 7.5. So they got pulled into the 7.5 area up here for that subdivision. These will all change to the HPO for all these properties. Now downtown, that is one that will cut parcels in certain areas. And that's because hypothetically that is an overlay over top. So we would have HPO, we'd have commercial here, we have commercial here, we have recreational here, we have mixed use here, we have commercial here, but the downtown sits as an overlay over top of that.
So you said that for these grants, you can't have residential in it, but haven't they been talking about wanting to bring residential into that spot right there by the golf
The
course? all those
project can
townhouses?
just not be within that one,
Yeah,
it cannot benefit the residential.
But it won't hurt them to put those townhouses along the golf course.
Correct. The grant just cannot benefit the residential development. Again, we made this one SF10 back here. Over here, we made all of these SF12 from the frontage line all the way back. However, if y'all have the same feeling that y'all do on the other one, we can change it to the first. So 100 feet are commercial.
So that is Shenandoah, that's this road right here. The little bitty cutout square is the city hall. And those two long properties are both owned by the same person, and they actually extend to the water. So they actually, there's a second portion to those that's separate that they also own that are county properties.
Would y'all wish to make those?
So those look, it's hard to tell from scale, but
I would.
could you even possibly get a large lot on those, development on that skinny lots?
That's, like 6 or 7 acres.
How is it?
It's all the property back here.
Okay.
And they're both owned by the same person. So potentially, if they were to sell them and somebody bought both sides and then platted them individually, 4 lots, then, oh, definitely, they could definitely build something back there.
So horizontal, not
I would leave the front,
I would too. I think the whole entire frontage of 276 needs to be.
and I would leave the back residential. Whatever they do, they would have to get entry from the highway. There's no other entry to that.
And nobody wants to live on a highway, so especially if the town develops out and we have just commercial property everywhere, nobody really wants to live there anyway, so.
recreational, of course, golf course, all that stuff, recreational. Mixed use for that development we were discussing earlier, that's, we're already aware of. You're going commercial for the highway frontage, we'll turn this one into horizontal. SF 7.5 for this area, because some of those are already below that 7.5 requirement.
I think there is actually commercial built on that long pink strip.
This one right here,
That is gonna be the 2-mile storage, I believe.
Do we
It's
need
like
to leave that?
fenced and commercial,
so we need to leave that one all the way.
probably.
And then this is SF10 over here. Happy so far? Any issues?
I just wanna point out that section between Bella Vista, Hills Creek, according to this, requires a 7,500 square foot lot. So if you don't like it, now it's time to voice it.
What do you think, say?
Don't like it.
You don't like it?
Get out.
Yeah.
twice the size of the lots in Hilton Street now.
That's true.
Yeah,
I mean, the development y'all turned down, the smallest lot they had was 8,000. They had 8,000, 10,000, and 12,000 square foot lots, and y'all turned it down.
Well, they had, if I remember correctly, they were very, very shallow to the point where they really weren't buildable. if I remember
I don't know, I
correctly.
just know they were,
And then they were also including area in their lots that weren't technically allowed.
That was part of the road or something.
We didn't let them rezone it though, right? Still,
No.
still there.
it's still
So-
ag, yeah. But this will put it, if it were changed, when they come in and rezone it, if they ask for 7,500 square foot lots,
And then there was a setback issue. They were trying to build them right on the property line.
Right, okay.
So if you add the setbacks, they would not be able to build what they brought into us. Because they were trying to make really long, really weird narrow lots, remember? So if you put a backyard and a front yard, they would not even have room for a house based on the
we
plans.
changed all of that.
Right, so
Changed too.
that's what they were originally trying to do, is they're trying to come in and build right on the property line on all directions and just squeeze a house in on barely a buildable lot.
Yeah, they met our setbacks, which were
And you're saying those,
5 foot.
you're saying those were 8,000 square foot? I thought they were.
Some of them were 8,000, some of them were 10, and some of them were 12.
I do remember seeing some, but they were really long and they weren't really buildable. Because they were built this
So
way.
what
on
you're
the
saying,
road.
if we want to change the size of those lots, then we need to do it now.
If you don't like 7,500 for their minimum size, then yes, now would be the time to speak up.
I sure want 10,000.
I mean, I'm just pointing it out so that nobody says, oh, she just slid this in there.
and I will say, 7,500 is not a small lot. While it is y'all's smallest lot, there is many cities y'all's size that have in their new zoning ordinance smaller lots than that. And with that being said, y'all are, make whatever decision y'all would like to make, but it also becomes a situation of if you do decide to go for a zoning of SF 12, SF 10, but then everything, north, south, east, west is SF lower because they were done originally before the zoning ordinance, so they're SF 400, 4,000 square feet, SF 5,000 square feet. That is a much different cost change between the people in these houses and the people in these houses. Or just from the property values of these properties and these properties. Those are just kind of some of the other things to keep in mind when you make that decision, because I know we always want bigger lots. We want more safety. We want to be a lakeside community with bigger lots, but don't forget, you also have to think about how these zoning districts are going to
A lot of these lots in these districts where we are already double lots and stuff, so a lot of them.
Right, so basically, in the subdivision ordinance, we're going to curb and gutter, correct? Because in the subdivision ordinance, so ditches on only acre lots or higher. So if we're going to curb and gutter, that's
I
the
think
intent,
it had
right?
10 foot on each side and have some 25-foot setbacks on those, right?
No, I'm just saying, but for our new regulations, when we come in, we're starting these residential subdivisions, the intent is curb and gutter, right? Not bardages?
It would be whatever is written within the subdivision currently.
Because that was one of my heartburn. Like these small lots like this should not have bardages. They're too small for bardages.
Yeah, and so that's where those subdivision regulations come into play is, back in the day, before the zoning ordinance and before these subdivision regulations are adopted, these people could do 7,500 lots and do something like that, and just have bardages on every single one of them. Now with those subdivision regulations, those things can be changed, altered, depending on what y'all would like, or what y'all would like to see. I will.
It's a whole separate,
10,000 minimum.
whole nother document that I sent y'all, but I did not print for y'all because there was no way we would.
Yeah, and I also want to note that has been sent over to Christy. So we put it together, we pulled it, it's there, y'all have it, it got emailed to y'all. However, before, we really start making edits to it, we send it over to Christy for her comments, and as the city engineer, we believe that she deserves to give her input and what she thinks would be best for the city on an engineering
Which
standpoint.
is one of them we would need on the special session.
So would y'all like to change that to the SF 7.5? If y'all would, how would y'all like to do so? Because keep in mind, it's not like y'all can choose just that one big square that y'all know is gonna get redeveloped. Y'all have to do it in a way that is actual zoning, thinking about the properties around it.
Well, in my opinion, as you get closer to the lake, your lots should get bigger.
Fair.
The closer to the highway, to the commercial, your lots should get smaller.
Fair.
So ideally, you'd go from commercial to 7.5 to 10 to 12. But I just, with the way our city's already laid out, it's kind of not even possible to do that anymore. But if it's one of those things that we can do for the future, then that's what I would prefer to see.
So are you saying to do a hardship on the properties that are?
I mean, you would
south of
have to,
that?
because, I mean, you can't put 10,000 on the ones that are already there. They're already 4,800 square feet, and there's no more land to.
But those fall in under the old,
Right.
if they're not replat. They would have to replat this, and that would fall in.
What I'm saying is they can't replat it unless they somehow bought more property to make it go into the new zoning, right? Or am I saying this wrong?
I will say that for those that are already platted, I would not recommend going to anything higher than 7.5 because you're creating a very big, instead of just,
Right. So then that locks us in then when we have to just do that one parcel because everything else is already platted.
I mean, I think you could do almost everything on Red Eagle Lane North. Hypothetically, I think most of those would fall over 10,000 square feet.
Show us where that is.
Oh no, we're talking about
They're talking about the Bella Vista Hills tree,
north side of the highway.
long skinny parcel,
You'll have to
Scroll
scroll
out.
over to the
this one.
left to left.
I mean, where the eagle
Oh,
was.
oh, y'all been
Yeah.
talking something totally different than me this whole time. Okay.
I was where you were, so.
Okay, thanks. I'm like, y'all have me completely lost.
So it's just a weird lot. So and everything
The
else is already
little-
platted.
Dog leg looking lot. Yes, that's what you call that.
Actually,
Skinnier as it gets to the lake.
And, I mean, we already said we're gonna do horizontal on that one, so the first Sophie will have commercial,
It is already commercial.
and it is already that way. And then we'll turn the rest of the back to residential.
Other question was, do they want to keep it 7.5?
7.5 or.
I pointed this one out because
Yes, I
this
know.
one was such a
I know.
turmoil and I didn't want anybody going, oh, well, she stuck that in there, didn't tell us and. No, this is on y'all.
Well, we discussed that, and we said you need to lower the amount of lots and make it larger.
Yes.
But then there was a problem with the road that way.
Because there's that pinch point. So
They
basically
made
what
it
they were doing is they're putting a road in there and then
They
they were
made it a
shrinking the lots
cul-de-sac.
so thin and long that they weren't real lots, but they were gonna try to build a house on it. That's, even if they were 8,000 square feet, they weren't really buildable unless you build a house all the way to the property line, which is what they were gonna do.
Yeah.
Right.
It was going back.
So with the setbacks coming in, the 25-foot front yard and 25-foot backyard setbacks, it's gonna completely kill that whole plat. They won't be able to do what they were doing.
Right.
Because the way they had it laid out was not a traditional lot. They're trying to kind of rig the system basically.
So leave it
That's, I
7.5
mean,
or
If y'all want,
put
I
it
mean,
to 10
this is
or
the time right now. If y'all want
Yeah, that's
2,000,
what I'm
put it in now.
now's when we need to.
I mean, with it being such an oddly shaped lot, 7.5 makes more sense. Because you're allowing more ability for development to happen there
Yeah.
versus it being empty forever. And then if you take into the fact that we're also adopting these subdivision regulations, it's not like you're gonna be bringing in something that doesn't have the proper drainage or something that doesn't have the proper infrastructure. Versus, I know that's been y'all's concern with previous developments on this property in the past. And then, like you said, we'll be adopting these 25-foot front and back setbacks.
So they wouldn't be able to do it even anyway.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
You would have to change his design.
And it really doesn't make sense to do 7.5 and 7.5 and then 10 in the middle. I mean, it doesn't.
Just
I
leave
mean,
it.
I agree that I'd rather the whole thing be 10, but unless y'all want to do the whole thing 10. But I mean, you can't change what's already there. So
Well, even if you left it at 7.5, a good designer contractor would say, oh, that doesn't work, so he might just have some 7.5s, some 10s, and maybe a couple 12s.
Yeah, they can always put bigger
Oh,
lots.
yeah, they can
in there.
always do
It's just,
bigger.
This is the minimum they can go.
Right.
But once we do this, this is the minimum they can go.
But with the setbacks and stuff, they wouldn't be able to do it.
Right.
They're
Right.
not gonna put 30-something homes there.
Right.
Because now you got 10-foot side yards too, I think it was, wasn't it? And
So yeah, 8 foot or 9.
It varies with the different,
Varies with your.
It varies.
district.
the bigger properties have, yeah, it's a whole table she's gonna show you.
Yeah, that's the next
so
discussion.
that's what, again, if it doesn't change and they can put 30 homes there, we don't.
No, this will definitely cause some changes.
I'll say leave it.
Either way, we won't have the same setbacks as we do now. They're bigger setbacks.
Yeah, so it wouldn't no way it fit.
So consensus, leave it.
What do you wanna do? Leave it?
So you make the decision.
Oh,
Say we leave it.
well, I agree with what you said, because with the new setbacks, they won't be able to do what they originally wanted to do.
And with our new subdivision regulations, they can't just go in there and throw a bunch of junk on the ground like they were going to do.
Spills.
Yeah,
Because
the
they were
oil
basically
sand.
gonna flood our neighborhood,
Yeah.
basically.
Awesome. So we've done everything on Highway 276. Are y'all happy with everything besides for the changes of horizontal zoning on the long parcels? Okay, awesome. Now we go down. Oh, now we have to go down Maze Lane. Maze Lane, we left commercial going down. Most of this, as you know now, is either undeveloped or some of it is ag. We changed it to commercial going most of the way down, because that's kind of how we had it on the future land use map. We had it as some sort of commercial development going down that way. So we left it as that. When we get down here, you will start to see that we do keep agriculture uses within the city. So if there was anybody that has been using that property as agriculture, actually honestly using it as ag properties, we kept most of them on this map. Because when we did the comprehensive plan, we didn't see a massive population growth for y'all. So we felt that we could keep some of those agricultural uses as they were. Over here, we changed this to SF12, so SF12. Over here is multifamily. If you will remember, that was a discussion that was had during the during the future land use discussions and the comprehensive plan discussions to change that to multifamily. Some sort of multifamily development right there on the water was the goal. Down here, we switched this to 7.5 for all of these properties. We have another add right here. SF12 right here. Manufactured homes right here on Rain Tree. And then 7.5 again over here. Is there any issues y'all have with any of those developments?
I would say that SF12 next to the mobile metal manufactured homes should probably be the 7.5, because, I mean, just thinking nobody's gonna come in and build large lots, large houses next to manufactured homes. So.
Right.
And so you said the ag right there, going all the way down, that's being used currently as ag?
Is that correct, Shannon? I believe that was.
I believe it all is, yeah.
Yes.
But again, they have the ability to sell it and turn it residential.
They would have the ability to sell it and rezone it. So do all of y'all have the same agreement that that SF12 should be switched to SF7.5? Which?
What about those two green long ones?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't all that on Red Hawk Bay manufactured houses?
No.
Not all of it.
No, and then that land next to it, did they not put in
The
a,
one in between,
uh-huh.
those will be stick built. They're still trying to figure out their
I
drainage.
thought I seen mobile homes put in there.
There's nothing there. It's clear.
Yeah.
They're still working on their
Maybe that
civil
was-
and their drainage.
Maybe that was, at one point was,
They had discussed
manufactured
it, but when we approved it, we approved stick built.
Well, most of this we left ag, unless y'all see a purpose, a reason to do so differently. That was something that was also left ag on the future land use map, I believe. Now, again, that does not mean that down the road, y'all could say, we want to do an update to our zoning map, and say y'all start to see a really big increase in population, y'all say, well, we need to make sure we're protecting ourselves and don't set the increase. That is more than allowed. Recreational for the marinas areas, and then SF7.5 for all of this development. Any questions? Oh, we've gotten to that point of the. I know. I told y'all, I warned y'all that y'all were gonna start to hate me. So are we happy with the map? So I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna change that one that we just pointed out from SF12 to SF7.5, and I'm gonna do the horizontal zoning along 276.
What about the one that you and I were on, that nobody else was on?
Just go straight up. This one, between Eagle Road, Red Eagle and Geneva.
So is that, did anybody want to change anything on that, or is that good for everybody?
Those are all existing, right?
Mm-hmm. So I would assume that one we would keep SF7.5 for the same thought process we keep that
Right.
one SF7.5.
So like, yeah, if it wasn't platted, I'd say it would needs to be larger, but it's already done.
Good deal? Mm-hmm. Good deal. Okay. Woo! 2 of 3 down. So now we're, 2 of 4 down. 6% of the way there. Okay. Next thing. Page. Oh, I started putting those in upside down. That's fun. Okay. What point did I start doing them upside down?
You should be on 93.
Thank you. That does help. I was on 95.
That's your zoning district regulation.
Yes, table.
I assume that's what you're doing.
Okay, page 93. Do you have a pen I can squish in?
Blue or
I don't care. Any color pen. I'll take whatever. I'm not picky.
Here's a free one.
Oh, I get a free one.
Well, then I'll take mine back.
Okay,
You can have it.
so this is when we get to talk about all the numbers that I said we would start talking about later. So we're going to go district by district as it goes down. Your ag is your first one. Minimum lot area of 3 acres to be considered an agricultural property. Anybody have any disagreements with that?
Can you do anything on that 3 acres for ag?
Yes.
I mean, I don't see a problem with that, but
You
if
can do quite a bit.
they can get ag exemption for 3 acres, but you had to have.
Not by county.
That's by county.
Yeah, I don't know.
We can look into
It
that.
doesn't matter. I mean,
No,
3 acres
no.
is large.
Well, there's fees, and there's
Yeah.
things like that that are like 2
Micro
acre.
range.
And yeah, there's some things you can do with smaller lots.
Well, even like our current ordinances for animals, it's 1 horse per 1/3 acre.
Mhm.
Or 1 cow per 1/3 acre. So,
Well, usually a 3 acre, I would consider that a state lot. Ag would be like 10 acre, but if we're using ag as our state lot, basically, then if that's how we're going to define it, how we define it.
Any issues? Okay. Minimum dwelling unit size is 2,000 square feet. Minimum lot width of 200. Minimum lot depth of 250. Minimum front yard of 60. Minimum rear yard of 50. And minimum side yard of 25.
so that 60, 50, 25 is your setback.
And then maximum height of building 3 stories or 45 feet. I'm gonna fix that to be the 35 feet, and conditional 35 feet with an asterisk because of course if it's a grain silo or something like that, we'd allow the higher property. And then maximum impervious cover would be 30%. That means concrete can only cover 30% of the property.
So yeah, so that whole column there,
Mhm.
that just needs to jive with the engineering standards. So whatever we put there, we need to make sure the engineering standards say the same thing for our drainage studies. So if it's 60%, then our drainage manual needs to say the same thing. We should
The
make sure that they don't use a,
subdivision regulations?
yes, basically they don't come in and use a 50% for a residential if we're allowing 60%.
Yeah.
That's gonna affect all the runoff and our flooding.
Are you saying that?
What I'm saying is when we do our engineering standards, which aren't in here yet,
Mhm.
so when you do your drainage,
Mhm.
you do your drainage calculations of all the water that runs off,
Mhm.
everything that's impervious is gonna run off.
Yep.
And there's a coefficient for that.
Mhm.
That coefficient needs to match whatever our zoning is. So basically, their storm sewers are gonna get larger because we're allowing such high coverage. That's what I'm getting at.
Yes.
So we should make sure they match.
Yeah. So I also want to note, just because this confused me when you first said it. So this would mean 30% for ag, whatever. So it means 60% for SF 7.5. That means somebody could come in and only do 30% if
Right,
they would
but-
want.
But the drainage system needs to be
At least able to
handle whatever the
60.
zoning is, because then
Yes.
somebody can come back later and build more and more and more until they get to the 60%. So
Correction.
up front, the developer has to put in what we're gonna allow total zone.
And that is the reason why the subdivision regulations got sent to Christie. And we will have her review that. Okay. So now we're on to SF 7.5. So 7,500 square feet for the minimum lot area, minimum dwelling size of 1,200 square feet. We will correct the minimum lot width to be smaller to fit the mathematical calculations. And then minimum front yard of 25, minimum rear yard of 25, and minimum side yard of 10.
So,
And that is incorrect.
yeah.
I just realized, yes, that is incorrect.
And this table is not matching what's in the written.
No, that's why I
Even
said
in-
don't. That's why I said we're not going to start that discussion until we look at this. That's why I was asking us not to look at those numbers, because on my side, it doesn't make sense for me to change every single number in this whole book. It makes more sense for us to go through, make this the way we want it, and then I will go through and resolve all the numbers. It like takes 3 hours off of my time back in the office. So with that, I believe it is supposed to be 8 feet for the minimum side yard on 7.5, 9 feet for the minimum side yard on 10, and 10 feet for the minimum side yard on SF12. I apologize if those are in the wrong order. Do you all agree with those revisions right there? And then all of these will be 2.5 stories, so the 35 feet for the maximum height. And then we already discussed the impervious coverage, and we'll have Christy check those. Next, SF10, 10,500 square feet with a minimum dwelling size of 1,400 square feet. We will fix the minimum lot width on that one as well. Correction, as when I do those, would y'all prefer the lot width be changed on those, or would y'all prefer the lot depth get changed on those to match mathematically? Would y'all prefer wider lots, narrower lots?
Probably go narrower, because then the builder's gonna adjust it anyways based on setbacks and their building pads.
Well, the setbacks for the front and back are bigger anyway, so
So they're probably gonna do deeper
it
anyway,
would be
so
easier for them to have a deeper lot than a wider lot.
that's what most builders do anyway, so.
Right.
SF12, 12,000 square feet with a 1,500 square foot dwelling unit with a 90-foot minimum lot width, 120-foot lot depth, 25-foot rear and front setbacks, and a 10-foot side yard. Anybody have any issues with any of those besides we'll fix the calculations and fixing the order of the side yards on that?
Sounds good.
All good? Are y'all okay with the dwelling unit sizes on all those for the minimums?
I think that's fine.
I'm
Good
just
for
gonna
the whole
lie.
thing.
You want a bigger? What are we looking at?
One of the discussions we keep having is we want the houses to be bigger, and all the SF 7.5, which is a majority of our area, is 1,200 square feet
Yeah, but
for a
if
house.
you make them bigger, then we're gonna have the same problem with everything being
Crammed
adjusted
in.
and
They're
crammed
back
in
on top
there.
of each other.
Yeah.
Right
Which
now,
will-
currently, they only have to be 1,000 square foot.
The houses.
The reason I mean, I live in a 1,400 square foot house now, and it's too big for me. I want a smaller house on a bigger lot. I mean, that's my opinion.
Mhm.
I was gonna say, I thought y'all's issue was that the lots were too small, not that the houses were too small. Am I correct with that?
Everything was just crammed in
Yeah.
there somewhere.
But like the average house size nowadays is what, 1,400 square feet? What, I mean,
Yeah,
if you look at all the new developments in
I
Terrell,
think the average one that I permit is around 1,400.
I think that's average in Texas
that's
now. Anywhere
Even
you
in a
go.
1,000 square foot zoning minimum requirement, they tend to be around the 1,400 square foot.
Most people just aren't as rich as y'all and have that many.
we could up the SF 7.5 from 12 to 1,400,
I think they're.
I think
but it's only 200 square feet. I mean,
And you also don't want to make it where people can't build it.
They
exactly.
can't afford to buy the houses and
Cut corners and they try to hire, oh, well, this contractor is the cheaper one, may not be better, but we don't want to cause that either.
Yep.
But when you start pricing people out, you're not doing your city any good either.
Okay, so consensus is we're happy with the single family districts. Okay. Moving on to the multifamily districts. So townhomes, you'll see a lot of like this number to this number because they're townhomes. So they're like this on each other. They're on individual lots, but they're sharing a wall. Okay. So your townhome has a minimum lot area of anywhere from 3,000 square feet to 4,500 square feet. The 3,000 square feet would be those houses in the middle. The 4,500 square feet would be those houses on the edges. Does that make sense? Your minimum dwelling unit size would be 900 square feet for the dwelling unit itself. Your minimum lot width, 30 to 45. Again, your 30s would be the ones in the middle, your 45s being the ones on the edges. 120 being your minimum lot depth. That's the same all the way around. Every building is the same depth. They're just different widths. 25 front yard, 15 front yard, 15 backyard, 0 to 10 feet side yard. 0 feet would be the ones that share walls. 10 feet would be the ones on the corners.
Okay, so one problem with that is where do they park their cars if it's only 15 feet? So if they're townhouses are gonna have a garage, right? So 15 feet's fine, but I think there needs to be an asterisk saying if there's a garage, then it needs to be set back 25 feet. Because otherwise, where do they park their cars? In the driveway. If there's only a 15-foot setback, you can't park a car in 15 foot.
I don't think I'm following the discussion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because we've got a 15-foot setback front and rear for the townhouse. Well, the townhouse has got a garage, right?
I mean, hypothetically, yes.
So they have a driveway to their garage.
Yes.
Their driveway is only going to be 15 feet long. You can't park a car in that.
Okay.
So I think if they decide to do front entry or rear entry, whichever side the garage is going to be on, it needs to be extended to 25 feet so that they have room to park a car in the driveway.
In the road.
Without overhanging
So
it.
like, if you have a full-size truck with a 8-foot bed, you're not fitting in a 15-foot.
You need about 22, 23 foot.
You don't fit in
Y'all
a
wanna
parking
change
spot
those
at
to
Walmart
25
or Berkshire's
to
right
match that?
now.
I wouldn't say change the setbacks. I would say that put an asterisk on it saying that if you have a driveway, then you have to extend the driveway. Or maybe you change it to a garage setback. The garage setback is 25 feet. Building setback is 15 feet.
And some of them put the garages right
Just-
underneath the
yeah.
house.
Mhm.
Some of them don't have garages. Some of them don't have parking. They have parking lots.
Yeah.
Which I would call it that. I would call it keep it 15 feet and then do a 25-foot garage setback.
We can do that.
Because it
Okay.
doesn't matter what it is, people are going to park in it, and it's only 15 feet. It's just going to hang out on the road.
So your next one is going to be your duplexes. So this one I can already see we're going to want to make the same change in regards to the rear setback. I'm going to go ahead and make that note. 6,000 square foot minimum lot area. So keep in mind this would be for 2 homes on it because it's a duplex. So 6,000 square feet minimum lot area. 12,000 square feet minimum unit area. So each home would have to be a minimum of 1,200 square feet. Minimum lot width of 60 feet. Minimum lot depth of 100 feet. Front yard 25 feet. Rear yard we will change. Side yard of 7 feet and 2.5 stories. So this typical height. Would y'all like to change that 7 to be?
I would say 8 at least.
8,
Just
that's what I was
match the
gonna
rest
say.
of them.
Yep.
And then rear yards too. I mean, rear yard probably, again, depends on where your garage is, but I think a rear yard should at least be, the duplexes are going to have backyards too, right?
Mhm.
So I think 25 feet.
I think I'd go 25 on them. They're more like a
Because
typical house.
it's basically a
Split
single
two.
family house that's combined. So it still needs to have a backyard.
We'll just do 25, 25, 8 then. Okay, multifamily, so this would be for your apartment buildings, quadplexes, things like that. A minimum lot area of 1 acre with 550 square feet plus per unit. 200 square foot minimum lot width, 200 square foot minimum lot depth. And then, sorry, brain's taking a second here today. 15 to 25 feet minimum front yard. That is in determination whenever you read through the ordinance of how they're building that apartment building. So if they're deciding to do one thing in the front, one thing in the back, that determines if they're more towards the 15 side of the 5 foot side. And And that's for the city to look over the plat and see if they're in regulations with y'all's requirements. 15-foot rear yard and 50-foot side yard.
So in general, I would say that's probably okay, but what happens if the apartments are right next to a residential? Then, like a single family residential, then I would want that pushed back further away from single family. You don't want apartment buildings up here looking into someone's backyard.
Sorry, I'm trying to flip to the.
And right now, we don't have any multifamily next to anybody residential, but in the future there may be. I'm just thinking about all the apartment buildings I know that are not
No,
that close to the property
you
line.
are completely correct. I'm just trying to switch to this because I believe there's different regulations for if it is abutting a
What you're
residential.
talking about, Indian Oaks,
Yes, we have, Houston.
Houston flooding facts
Apartments
right up
back
to the brand new
right
houses
up
in
to
Indian
the
Oaks.
house.
And it's 2-story, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if it's 2 or 3, I think it was 2.
It's 2.
And I think they're like right
on
their property line. Yeah, because when it was built, it was in that time frame. We're just gonna leave it in that time frame. I don't even know what else to say.
Okay, yeah. So this one says 15 feet for a minimum side and rear yard unless adjacent to a single family duplex patio home or single family attached district, then side and rear setback shall be according to the height of the multifamily building as follows. An additional 15 feet per additional setback per story. So if it was in your situation where the Houston Oaks fault, I'm saying that so wrong. I apologize. Where it is right on y'all's property line, since it is a one-story building, they wouldn't just have to do 15, they'd have to do 30. And then if it was a 2-story, 45.
And then they would also have to put a fire lane around the whole building anyway, so it's gonna be more than 15 feet anyways.
Yeah, because there's all kinds of rules that actually have to be followed now.
Which is good.
Is there's any other issues y'all have with that now that I've discussed how the setbacks would work in that area? Okay. Manufactured, that's gonna need to be changed. Sorry, I'm just realizing that off the top of my head. So we're gonna change that minimum square footage.
Yeah, I think our minimum now is like 800.
Yeah,
because
I don't
your
know why
average
it's like
single
that.
wide is right around 800 square foot.
Yeah.
In fact, we get some that are like 798 and we let them in because
Yeah.
they're.
So we'll fix that. That's an error on our part. With a minimum dwelling unit size of 1,200 square feet, do y'all allow smaller manufactured homes than that?
Single wides are a lot smaller than that.
So it would be your minimum square footage that y'all would
Right now,
allow.
they're 8.
8.
I think they're 8 right now.
We'll change that to 8.
I can double check that, but I'm pretty sure they're 8 right now.
And then, so your front yard, we'd still do 25, 25 with a side of 10. You happy with that? Okay. Commercial, minimum 10,000 square feet. No minimum dwelling unit size, as there will not be for any of the rest of these districts, as there is no dwelling. Front minimum lot width is 100, minimum lot depth is 150. Front yard 30, rear yard 20, side yard 15. Again, keep in mind for most of these districts that we're discussing, they're gonna have similar regulations in here as the apartments did, of if they are abutting a residential, we will increase that setback. Okay. Neighborhood commercial, 8,000 square feet, 80, 120, 25, 20, 10. Recreational, that one I put as varies because depending on what it is that it's necessarily trying to become recreational. I mean, you could have a pocket park that y'all want to allow to be recreational. You don't want to tell them that they cannot be a recreational because they're so small. So we have that as varies.
The rest look good to me.
Okay. Does anybody else want to do that? I mean, if anybody else has anything they want to point out?
I'm good.
I know we've been looking at this since 3 o'clock.
I was about to say, yeah, y'all are tired. Imagine how we feel.
But do we want to, do another special session?
We're gonna have to.
Yeah,
We're
we're
gonna
already
now.
gonna have to do another special session. This is just everything I need to get fixed. So in that next special session, y'all have the almost next to the perfect version y'all would like.
We still have another 100 pages before you learn all that.
No, we have these pages.
Okay.
This I needed y'all to do so I can fix those other 100 pages in here. To all the
Yeah,
numbers.
it's all done like that.
Yes.
Is everybody good on the 15th? Everybody be here on the 15th, special session? As in on the 15th.
Don't have my calendar.
My
but
daughter's birthday,
At 7 o'clock.
I mean,
We can do 6 or 7.
On Wednesday?
We can do it earlier if we want to.
I would love an earlier if we have the availability.
We have to drive from Dallas from work, so.
Okay, then we can do
Which
the
is
later.
why we
Yeah,
generally
no,
do the
I
7
can-
o'clock,
I can
is
do the
because a
later
lot of
too.
people Do, so
I can do the later too.
I guess I'm
It's
gonna
Wednesday,
need
right?
to-
Not Thursday?
I
That's-
believe it's Wednesday.
15.
Yes, on my calendar.
If y'all want to look at it and shoot me a text or an email tomorrow, I just need to be able, I'm out next week, so I need to be able to do an agenda and get it posted.
It's good for me,
Which I
so.
can do next week.
So you let her know.
I mean, I'll say yes, but I'll let you know if it's.
Just let me know for sure.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to do 6, that's fine. I can take off early that day. We just make sure it was that day.
Please do 6. I don't leave early.
I'm the only one that's probably.
Yeah, let's do 6.
Anything y'all can start without me, so, but I can take off early.
Everybody else is
good.
good with 6
Wednesday, the 15th.
at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Cecilia's gonna let me know
I'd
for
like to
sure.
I'll
make a
just say
motion.
yes. I can rearrange anything else.
We don't have to have a full board. Like, we don't have to have
Oh,
a
and-
full board.
Oh.
And it also, that meeting
We're
won't be
not
the one in which we
voting on
vote.
anything.
Yes, it'll just be another review session, and hopefully at that one, we'll have the subdivision regulations to also review.
That's fine.
November, the goal is we will have an actual public hearing on it.
So, and all this stuff, I have a question. So, when it comes to testing, all that stuff, is there anything, any
Testing and what sort.
That'll be in the engineering standards.
Yes.
That's not included in here yet.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
We are not that far yet. I'm gonna make y'all do one more thing. I'm sorry. I apologize, but if y'all wanna be done with this, by January 1, we have to go through this so I can have the edits before the special session.
Oh, yeah, this is important. This is what we spent like 3.5 hours working on.
Yes. And I mean, that is an option as well. If y'all want me to explain it to y'all and y'all kind of do it and y'all promise to do it as homework and y'all give it back to me, or y'all give them to me at the special session and we can review them together at the special session based on y'all's comments. And that way, when I come back in November, we'll have the final version. That is also allowed. Y'all just tell me. So first I'm gonna explain and then I'll kind of let y'all say what y'all want to do. Shannon and I have already gone through this and made some changes to it. However, keep in mind the mixed use district and the downtown district have not been filled out completely because those were two that because of their new creation and because of the kind of really wide range y'all can choose to have in those districts, we wanted to allow y'all to have more input on those items. So those two districts have not been filled in. So don't just read through this and not look at those two columns because they probably need filled in some areas. The P means permitted. So that means if somebody came to you and they had a SF7 district and there was their use to the left had a P beside it under their residential type, that means they're allowed to build that. They don't got to come to you.
That means I'm giving them a permit as long as they meet all the requirements.
Yep.
So, okay, as long as they meet all the requirements, because a greenhouse on a townhouse, that's pretty much impossible, right?
Not on a property. You could have a greenhouse on the backyard as an accessory dwelling.
But it has to meet setbacks and all that
Yes,
stuff.
it would have to meet
all
all
the
the
requirements, yes.
setbacks.
And,
That would
once it's
also,
adopted, BB will get a full copy.
yes. And that would also be for those corner lots that we discussed that have the bigger accessory, yeah. So P is permitted as long as it meets all the required setbacks. C is conditional, so that means it would have to come to you for a conditional use permit to be allowed within the area. Conditional use permit would mean that they would have to have a reason for that use to fit, and that it would be conditional within the properties around it. So not necessarily, hey, we want to do this, can we do it, but a more, would this use fit with the uses surrounding it type of discussion and decision. And then eventually you'll also find a T as you go through here. That T is for temporary. So they would be allowed to have that use for a temporary period of time and pull a permit for a temporary.
You will also notice there are some that have Ps all the way across. We cannot change those.
Yes.
And the highlighted ones are ones that we had questions on that she's got to get with people, or we got to get with Leon to get a little bit of clarification.
Yes, the one, yeah. P is all the way across. We cannot mess with them. I apologize.
That's in churches, and schools, and that
Fire stations. And,
Churches and schools are allowed on single family residential lots.
yes.
we cannot restrict where they can go.
Especially on the churches one. So, would y'all like to review these today? Would y'all like to take them home and do homework and come back with edits?
And you are also welcome to take them home and bring them to me if you need to, and I will
Yes.
scan them in and send them to her.
That is very much a happy, yes, I would
Or
love
you
for that to
can email
happen.
them to me, scan them in and email them to me, however y'all want to do it.
He's like, I'm calling this quits.
He lasted longer than I thought he would.
Y'all wanna do this later, or?
Do the homework and come back with it.
I will get and try to figure that out since why.
I think you probably have an A plus.
Do you have a digital copy of these that you can send us that we can?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, because you just sent,
I just sent it to you.
she
Yes.
sent it to me right, like we literally finished this right before y'all got here.
Okay.
And at the very least, I know it's not an A plus because we added the MU district.
And apparently I need to resend email, so I will resend all of this, including the subdivision ordinance. Since Lee didn't get it, and you said you didn't get it, so I'll resend everything, I'll resend all of this in the morning.
And I will send you the pretty map with the proper
Yeah,
legal text at the
and
top.
it'll be broke down. Like this will be one attachment, the zoning will be an attachment, the subdivision will be an attachment, and the map will be an attachment. So you'll get multiple attachments in the email.
And remember, give them the map that I just sent you.
Yeah, I just made a copy. of
No,
that.
I know.
Make it
No,
easy.
you're good. Just when you send them
There's
that
little,
map.
there's some different language right here.
Yeah.
Because this was like a preliminary, and then she changed the language on very top. She wants this into the new language.
Does it say draft?
No, it's quite literally, there's one piece of legal language there that one says this is, comprehensive planning document, do not do this, whatever. The new legal language says this is for review and discussion purposes
Yeah,
only, this does not constitute zoning, yada, yada, yada.
So when you get this changed, we get a map back for the wall?
Yes, you'll get a map on the wall again.
I don't
And,
know if you'll get a map on the wall.
It was
Did
nice.
they
They
It was
complain
nice
about the
having
maps
that.
on the walls.
well, you will also be,
I know, I was like, did they change? What was it?
well, you will also be getting digital maps for everything and web maps and all that kind of stuff as well,
Once it's all done.
once it's all done, yes.
For now, you're just gonna get that PDF version map.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything else?
6 o'clock on the 15th, correct?
6 o'clock on the 15th.
All right, so, we stopped item C. Are we gonna postpone that one as well?
No, let's do it.
Item C is
Too many things.
presentation and discuss of the proposed subdivision ordinance
Oh,
of the city
yeah,
of West
never mind,
Walker.
we are doing
I
that.
was about to say,
Now we postpone that until Wednesday the 15th at 6 o'clock.
for a second.
And so,
Who seconded?
seconds, Crystal.
Crystal.
Yeah.
Motion by Chris. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
Go ahead, Lee.
All right, item number 10, discuss and or action to approve or deny planning and zoning minutes for September 4th, 2025. That look good, y'all?
We did,
Approved.
I second it.
Motion by Lee, second by Chris. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Item number 11, citizens input related to non-agenda items. I think we lost everybody, so.
But I have one thing.
Oh, okay.
I added this, and I'm just gonna make this fast.
Oh, yeah.
Shannon, you know, a lot of us got this postcard, and I know you kind of talked about it, but since this is online, can you kind of summarize it real quick about this? That it's not us.
All I can tell you is the city did not send this postcard out. It is the county. If you have questions, contact Brian Toole. He's at the Hunt County Development. You can't get him on the phone. His email is btoole, so BTOOLE @huntcounty.net. They're the ones that can answer all the questions on those postcards.
So what I was told was that it does not apply to anything in the city limits. So your house doesn't apply, but I was told, which is different than her, that our lease back applies, which doesn't really apply because you can't build anything on that lease back livable anyways. So that's a question. She was told something different than I was.
Yeah, I just, you know, I know you had gotten a bunch of phone calls on it, so I thought this would be a good opportunity.
If you have questions, I would highly suggest going to the meeting. It's in November, I think, what the card say, 14th?
13.
So November 13th, it's in Quinlan, and it's the Tawakoni, Lake Tawakoni Planning Committee. Planning and Zoning Committee.
Well, when I
They're
scanned
gonna
this,
have a big meeting.
when I scanned this QR code, it talks about some huge subdivision that's going in too, so.
Everybody has told me that when they scan that QR code, they get something different. I have yet to have
Oh, wow.
anybody tell me they got the same thing.
Oh, wow.
Well, the Brian guy's online and he's actually talking to people because
Yes.
I've seen him on there, you know, commenting and stuff. But they say that if you go to the link or whatever to it, that there's a green box that you have to tap on to go to that and not just get a bunch of everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I know he was answering a lot of questions on one of the Facebook pages yesterday. Everybody has lots of questions. We didn't know it was coming.
Yeah, I got 3 of
Which
them.
I didn't think it was legal to zone
There's a lot of
something
people
outside
that
of
didn't
us.
get 'em.
Is it legal to zone something in a county?
Depending on the county, yes.
Okay.
Well,
There's only a handful of them in the entire state, but yes.
Well, I guess Huntington's one of them. We're trying to be one of them.
It
Yeah.
has to
My
do with
understanding,
lists
it's
and military bases.
Which is, I think, why Hunt County said we'll do it, 'cause it's the Lake Tawakoni Planning and Zoning Committee. So that keyword there, like. Why they're-
We looked into it a lot. You're not.
I am definitely not an expert on that, and
No.
I'm not even gonna. try to-
I think they divided the cities that are
You,
on the lake.
right.
Well, I will tell you, they did call a lot of cities and apologize because those went out 2 weeks earlier than they were supposed to, so they didn't get the chance to talk to the city as planned.
You would think they would send us something.
Anything else? Do you have citizen input now?
No.
Oh, yeah.
You
Okay.
keep trying to make me do it. That's yours.
No. All right, so if there's no more citizen input, we will go to item number 12, which is adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Motion by
Second.
Aye. Second by Lee. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. We are adjourned at 9:19.
Right.
And that was my husband.